The new Ultimate Spider-Man for a new Ultimate Universe. Visionary writer Jonathan Hickman, House of X, Powers of X, and acclaimed artist Marco Cecchito, Daredevil, bring you a bold new take on Spider-Man. With this, the debut title of the new line of the Ultimate Comics. After the events of the Ultimate Invasion, the world needs a hero. Who will rise up, take that responsibility, prepare to be entangled in a web of mystery and excitement as the all-new Ultimate Spider-Man comic redefines the wall crawler for the 21st century. These people stole your future. These people robbed you of your destiny. The question is, do you want it back? Quote, Iron Lad. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. When Tony Stark learned the dark history of his universe, he sought to undo it, prompting the Maker's Council to attack Manhattan, killing thousands and frame Stark for it. Peter Parker has lived his life unaware of the Maker's Council or the truth behind the spider, but this is all about to change. Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 1. On a cold January morning in New York City, snow is falling steadily. Peter Parker is grappling with the realization that he's not getting any younger. He finds himself in a crisis, yearning to do more with his life. 20 years ago, Peter Parker's trajectory took a different turn when he didn't become Spider-Man. The Maker intervened, preventing the radioactive spider from biting Peter during his teenage years. Since then, Peter has led a different life, marrying Mary Jane Watson and becoming a father to son and a daughter named Richard and May, respectively, naming one child after Uncle Ben and the other after Aunt May. Peter now enjoys a fulfilling life with his loving family in a nice house. Peter Parker confesses to Mary Jane that he didn't sleep. In response, MJ questions whether it was a case of not being able to sleep rather than a choice. Peter admits it was a bit of both. Meanwhile, their daughter May discovers a mysterious orb in Peter's bag, adding an element of intrigue to the situation. Peter Parker is employed as a journalist at the Daily Bugle, working alongside his uncle Ben Parker, who holds the position of the Bugle's managing editor. A year ago, New York City expressed a devastating terrorist attack, allegedly orchestrated by Tony Stark, resulting in numerous casualties, including Ben's wife and Peter's aunt, May. While Peter is deeply concerned about Uncle Ben's well-being, Ben has not coped well with Aunt May's death. In contrast to Peter's upbringing by an emotional, expressive, and observant Aunt May, Ben tends to internalize his emotions. Peter, mirroring his uncle's tendency to keep things inside, understands the emotional toll this tragedy has taken on Ben. Despite their shared inclination to internalize, Peter wants to provide support for his grieving uncle. In a poignant moment, J. Jonah Jameson recognizes the need for emotional solidarity, removes his tie, and places it around Peter's neck. The unexpected gesture symbolized a supportive connection, indicated that even the stoic Jonah understands the depth of Peter and Ben's sorrow. While strolling through the streets of New York City, Uncle Ben and Peter engage in a conversation. Peter, concerned about Ben's well-being, mentions that people are wondering if he's okay. In response, Ben clarifies that it's not about everyone, specifically Peter, who is expressing concern. Peter, finding it challenging to freely articulate his emotion, concedes with an okay, fair enough, but emphasizes his worry for Ben. Ben probes further, questioning why Peter is worried. Peter, struggling to voice his emotion, finally admits, because you haven't said anything, not one word about how you're doing or how you feel. He expresses his concern that Ben has been silent about his own grief. Ben reflects on the past, reminding Peter that when he was 15 and lost his parents, Ben and May took him in. The first year was tough, but they protected, taught, and explained the world to him. Ben acknowledges that May was better at handling these matters, but he tried his best to fill the void left by Peter's parents and Aunt May. However, he recognizes that it's been 20 years, and that's a long time. Ben understands the weight of loss, admits that not a day goes by without feeling the pain of his parents' absence. Uncle Ben, acknowledging the shared grief, silently states, "Then you know exactly how I feel." This poignant exchange highlights the enduring impact of loss on both Peter and Uncle Ben. Peter and his family attended a memorial for the deceased of the terrorist attack. Father Matthew Murdoch gives a eulogy to the audience, reassuring even though their loved ones are gone, but their memories will not be forgotten. After finishing his speech, Murdoch relinquished his position to Harry Osborn, the CEO of Oscorp Industry. Harry had lost his parents, Norman and Emily, and he tells the audience about a fond memory of himself and his father playing catch when he was 7 years old. However, Harry admits that he still cannot move on over his father's death. MJ privately tells Peter that she met Harry once and how he is now a completely different person. Peter recalls that Ben had interviewed Norman Osborn over the years, but he never got even a hint of who Norman really was other than being known as a ruthless billionaire who founded his company. Peter and Ben later returned to the Bugle and found John Jameson storming out of the meeting with the Bugle's owner, saying that he quit. Robbie Robertson informs Ben that Fisk and the newspaper's advertisers strongly disapprove of Bugle's inflammatory content, specifically their investigation to the Stark terror attack. So Fisk proposed to Ben to become the Bugle's new leadership following Jonah's ejection, as long as he toes the line. However, Ben silently walks out, effectively quitting the Bugle in solitary with Jonah. Following the meeting, Fisk prepares to leave in his car, but is suddenly attacked by an green armored assailant riding a glider who destroys Fisk's car. But fortunately for Fisk, he barely escaped with his life. At a bar with no name, Jonah and Ben discuss starting their own newspaper in which, according to Jonah, they tell no lies. Peter soon joins them and reveals that his job is safe and Robbie is made the new leader of the Bugle. After Peter learns about their decision to start a newspaper, he asks Ben why he quit the Bugle. He explains that it's an easy choice. He cannot take being an industry of compromise 1 minute more. Ben then notices something is troubling Peter, to which he explains that there is something wrong with himself, but he cannot explain what it is. It is something that he doesn't know what to do. Ben encouragingly tells Peter to not spend his life waiting for something to happen, but make it happen. Peter returns to his home and tucks in his children to bed before having a talk with MJ. They have a good family and their life is doing well, but Peter needs a change. MJ tells Peter he is an amazing husband and father, but if he is not satisfied with who he is, then she is supportive of what Peter will do as long as things do not change between them. Peter walks out to the rooftop and pulls out the metal orb. Last night, Peter suddenly receives a package in which it emits a holographic message from Tony Stark, who explains that he sent the message to Peter from 6 months into the future after an attempt on his and his companion's life that led to a terrorist attack caused by an orbital platform. He further reveals that Peter and every other person were supposed to be the world's prominent superheroes, but their fates were upended by the Maker. Tony is trying to revert the Maker's action, and he wants Peter to become Spider-Man. He has sent Peter a Picotech stealth suit to mask his identity and a bioorganic catalyst to undergo his post-human transformation. Now, Peter Parker carefully cradles the orb in his hands and gently taps on it. As he does, a black ball emerges. In that moment, a quote from Iron Lad echoes in his mind. "These people stole your future. These people robbed you of your destiny." The significance of the orb and the Iron Lad's words intertwine, adding an air of mystery and urgency to the unfolding narratives. Iron Lad's words linger in the air as Peter Parker inspects the orb. Within it confines, Iron Lad reveals, "You want it back." In Peter Parker's recollection and conversation he shared with Uncle Ben, a significant moment unfolds as he reflects on the past. Uncle Ben urges Peter with the words, "Then wake up." Slowly from the test tube, an element or object emerges, heightening the anticipation of what awaits and contributing to the unfolding mystery in the storyline. Peter Parker's demeanor shifts to one of joy, giving the impression that he is on the brink of embracing the life he was destined for. More significantly, it seems that this new chapter in his life aligns with what the universe requires. The anticipation of fulfilling and purposely future adds an optimistic and hopeful note to the storyline. The narrative takes a poignant turn with a flashback to a conversation between Peter Parker and Mary Jane. In her characteristic way, Mary Jane delivers an encouraging message, culminating with the iconic line, "Go get him, Tiger." As the spider rests on Peter Parker's hand, a moment of intense anticipation ensues. In a symbolic act, the spider injects the radioactive serum into Peter's body, marking a transformative and pivotal moment in his journey. 2 decades ago, Peter Parker's life was meant to take a different trajectory, a path altered by the radioactive spider bite. The course of this universe was meant to be distinctive. However, a 35-year-old Peter finds himself married to Mary Jane Watson with 2 children, May and Ben, despite the tragic loss of Aunt May and Uncle Ben serving as a guiding figure. Peter's life has unfolded in unexpected ways. Now, the radioactive spider sent by the Iron Lad has brought a radical transformation. In this turn of events, Peter Parker is thrust into the role of the new Ultimate Spider-Man, signaling a shift in the destiny of both the character and the universe itself. This is the new Ultimate Universe. Next issue, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 2. The most surprising Spider-Man story of the the 21st century continues. In this issue, Spider-Man faces his first supervillain, J. Jonah Jameson's quest to uncover who is really pulling the strings of this new Ultimate Universe leads to a shocking revelation, and New York City's welcomes its newest hero, the Green Goblin. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 2, First story. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. In a quest to free the world from the Maker's council, Tony Stark sent Peter, now a married father, to a package containing the same radioactive spider and a Pico suit. After watching his uncle Ben Parker and mentor J. Jonah Jameson leave the Daily Bugle over pressure from the Bugle's owner, Wilson Fisk, to control the news cycle, Peter felt called to action and let the spider bite him. At the Parker household, May and Richard argue about whether or not the Spider-Man person she sees in the news is real, finding him scary. Peter helps settle the argument. MJ overhears the argument and asks what's going on, and Peter badly explains what was happening. MJ then has everyone make sure they are ready for the day, and then briefly sees that Peter has more biceps, causing Peter to unintentionally fib that he's been working out. Peter tests out his ability and questions on whether he should try to be his own person or act like the person he was supposed to be before his destiny was taken away. Meanwhile, Ben and Jonah are at a saloon relaxing and discussing how a mysterious vigilante with green armor has been attempting to assassinate Fisk multiple times, while the Bugle focuses its articles on Spider-Man as a distraction. They then finish their saloon visit to get some work done. Peter, meanwhile, swings through the city when he finds a criminal named Shocker and goes up against him. Peter and the Shocker talk, and Peter, being a bit gullible, is fooled when the Shocker tells him he decided to quit only for the Shocker to shock him into a dumpster. Peter heads home and snacks him some ice cream in his suit, only to find May looking at him. With no other choice, he reveals his secret identity to his daughter. To keep her quiet, he gives her some ice cream, but reveals he plans on revealing his identity to his family soon, just not at the moment. May requests he changes the costume, and Peter considers it. Meanwhile, Kingpin and Henry Dugarry, this universe's Captain Britain, discusses goblin attacks and uses of Spider-Man in the Daily Bugle to distract the population, with Dugarry demanding Fisk to use his resources to get rid of Goblin. Peter takes a moment to text MJ and tell her that it might take him a bit to get back home as he's still at work. Following that, Peter once again stumbles upon the Shocker in the midst of robbing a bank. Spotting the bank brimming with money, Shocker enthusiast declares bingo. Seizing the opportunity, Peter swiftly intervenes, jumping into action and casually greeting him with a nonchalant "Hey there." Acknowledging the irony of their repeated encounters, Peter mentions the term habits and emphasizes that the Shocker seems to have acquired some undesirable ones. Addressing him as Mr. adds a touch of formality, underscoring disapproval of Shocker's criminal pursuits. In a dramatic confrontation, Shocker forcefully slams his hands down the floor, creating a thunderous impact. Meanwhile, Peter, donned in his sleek black Pico Suit, responds with agility, leaping high into the sky. The contrasting action set the stage for an intense and visually dynamic encounter between the two adversaries. Responding with a confident quip, Peter remarks, "Good try." Harnessing the combination of his enhanced speed and agility, he swiftly employs his spiderweb, shooting it out from his hand. The seamless integration of his ability showcases Peter's prowess as he navigates a situation with finesse. The spiderweb lands precisely on the Shocker's right eye, momentarily impairing his vision. Seizing the opportunity, Peter, with remarkable speed, delivers a precise blow right into Shocker's ribs. The impact is forceful, causing blood to spew from Shocker's mouth, signifying a significant injury and the first serious challenge for this former superhero against his adversary. Struggling to breathe, Shocker believes the new Spider-Man has broken his ribs. However, Peter, still coming to terms with his own strength, is unaware of the extent of his power. In a surprising turn, Shocker reveals a personal crisis, explaining that his wife is in critical condition and they lack the financial means to afford the necessary treatment. Desperation in his voice, Shocker confesses she needs this, so I don't have any other choice. Caught off guard by this revelation, Peter is taken aback. Shocker questions him, asking what he would do if he were in his shoes. Peter expresses genuine sympathy and says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't imagine that. Wait, is that true?" In response to Shocker questions, "What do you think?" Peter realizes he had been tricked once again and exclaims, "Oh man, not again." Undeterred by Peter's realization, Shocker swiftly retaliates, zapping him with his shocking bolt. As Peter lands in the dumpster, Shocker, one eye covered with spiderweb, cunningly utilizes his shockwave to propel himself high into the air, clutching the stolen money. Unbeknownst to them, someone else is keenly observing the events unfolding down below. The Goblin, observing the scene, watches as the Shocker jumps using his shockwaves. Intriguingly, on the Goblin's left shoulder, the armor bears both Osborn and Stark names. In a moment of vulnerability, Peter confesses, "In the last few days, not only have I managed to get my ass kicked twice, but I've also accidentally revealed my secret identity to my kid. Worse than that, I scared her." Peter's admission reflects the challenges and personal struggles he's facing. With a sense of regret, Peter mutters, "Not good, Peter, not good at all," while casually sipping milk from the refrigerator. Simultaneously, the sleek Pico mask descends slowly, underscoring the dual nature of his life as both Peter Parker and the mysterious superhero. Contemplating the challenges he faces, Peter entertains self-doubt, thinking it was a tough day. Maybe you're not cut out for this. However, this perspective shifts suddenly when he noticed a note from his daughter May on the refrigerator. The note bears a drawing of his new spider symbol and colors. May expresses, "I drew a picture of your spider. I hope you like it. You're the best. Love, May." Touched by his daughter's gesture, Peter reconsiders his doubts, thinking to himself, "Or maybe I'll give it one more day." The heartfelt note serves a reminder of the personal stakes and motivations that drive him to continue one more day as the Ultimate Spider-Man. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 3. Hi, I'm Harry. Peter. Well, Peter, I don't know if you've noticed or not, but the world is a strange and dangerous place these days. Yeah, I'm starting to notice that. Quote, the Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Peter Parker's new life gets even more complicated. Spider-Man sizes up the new hero, Green Goblin, as they team up to fight a new supervillain. Secrets about the corporations running North America are revealed, and you'll never guess who discovers Spider-Man's secret identity. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 3. MJ and Richard begin to suspect Peter and May of hiding something, and so call them out on it. May and Peter refuse to admit it. They are hiding something, and they say they are just spending time together. With that in mind, the still suspicious MJ and Richard go out to get Richard some new shoes. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 2 months ago, Peter Parker, now a married father of two, allowed a radioactive spider to bite him after Tony Stark sent Peter a Pico Suit, the spider, and warnings of the Maker's Council. Since then, Peter has used his incredible new abilities to pursue the truth of the world, while his uncle Ben Parker pursues it through investigation journalism after leaving the corrupt Daily Bugle owned by Wilson Fisk. The one hitch in Peter's heroism, his daughter, Mary Parker, has discovered his secret identity. While they're gone, Peter has May help pick out a Spider-Man costume. All the costumes pay homage to a former Spider-Man iterations, including the black suit Venom Spider-Man, Scarlet Spider-Man, and other variations of the costume. Both father and daughter have a differing opinions on their preferred costumes until they ultimately agree on the red and blue classic Spider-Man attire. Peter and May then take it out for a spin. Meanwhile, Jonah and Ben move into their new currently unnamed business, which they currently don't know what to call. Jonah criticized Ben's judgment on the place, to which Ben asked if they had any more money to spend on a place. Jonah admits they didn't. When Peter comes in to check out the place, he also criticized the place, much to Ben's annoyance, and gives them a plan from MJ. Peter then notices they have a board filled with information, and they begin discussing it. They come to the conclusion that the main conflict is between the Green Goblin and Wilson Fisk. With that in mind, Peter goes on a stakeout. However, 2 days, nothing happens, and Peter begins to give up until he sees the Goblin and Bullseye fighting. The Green Goblin is chasing Bullseye and throws a Goblin bomb right at at Bullseye. However, Bullseye jumps out of the way. Bullseye mocks the Green Goblin for going after Mr. Fisk. As the Green Goblin rides his Goblin glider, he holds another Goblin bomb while chasing Bullseye. The blast from the bomb creates a fiery spectacle all around the Goblin. Bullseye throws an ace of spades and remarks, "But you strike me as someone who's never once in his life actually hunted because you didn't recognize that trap even when it was right in front of you." As the ace of spades hits Goblin bomb, Bullseye exclaims, "Ha! Bullseye!" The bomb explodes right in the hand of the Green Goblin, causing him to lose his footing on the Goblin glider. The Goblin hits the floor and asks, "Who are you?" Jumping with his hands full of cars, Bullseye declares, "A killer loose in the world, an actual predator in the wild." The Green Goblin, in the midst of recovering, retorts, "That's funny. Seems to me you're more like a pet on a leash, doing Fisk's bidding while your owner is safe." As he speaks, the Green Goblin shoots laser beams out of his hand, showcasing his formidable powers. Bullseye counters, "You think I work for Fisk? Fisk is a prop, a puppet, like you and everyone else." With precision, Bullseye effortlessly dodges the laser, showcasing his agility. He asserts, "As we know, the real boss in this world is Captain Britain." 3 cards strike the chest of the Green Goblin, causing a short circuit in his armor. Bullseye asserts, "No, I work for the real masters of the world, the true power. I'm paid by an invisible hand to strike those who forget their station, and I'm very good at it." With confidence, Bullseye maintains his advanced position atop of the Green Goblin, poised to strike with another card. Bullseye then adds, "But if I'm being honest with you, I do it for free." He readies himself to deliver the card as a death blow to the Green Goblin. However, before he can strike, someone interrupts the battle, commanding both of the combatants to cease their fight. Spider-Man swiftly webs up Bullseye's hands, preventing him from executing the kill shot on the Green Goblin. With authority, Spider-Man declares, "If you can't play nice, maybe you shouldn't play at all." Spider-Man quips, well, I guess it's my lucky day. I get to eliminate 2 problems at once." With a hint of sarcasm, he adds, "And after that, I get to go home, which is a good because I hate this place." As Bullseye frees himself from the webbing, he swiftly throws 3 cards at Spider-Man, intensifying the confrontation. Spider-Man skillfully ducks to avoid all 3 cards, but they strike a crane nearby. With a hint of confidence, Spider-Man remarks, "Well, you're going to need to have better aim than that." However, Bullseye responds, "I wasn't aiming at you." Spider-Man's expression shifts to one of concern as he realizes the danger. He mutters, "Oh boy," just as a massive construction crane begins to fall. As the crane begins to collapse off the building, Spider-Man realizes the gravity of the situation. "This is going to be a huge disaster," he exclaims, bracing himself for the impending chaos. Bullseye casually taunts, "You're alive in there? I hope you are. I hope it hurts real bad." Meanwhile, a crane has fallen atop of Spider-Man, leaving his fate uncertain amidst the rubble. As the Green Goblin rises, he strikes Bullseye in the back with a laser blast and warns, "Don't worry about him, worry about me." Bullseye, fueled by rage, hurls 6 or 7 cards directly at the Green Goblin, seeking retribution for the chaos and danger unleashed. Bullseye declares, "I'll tell you to make your peace, but that ain't how this is gonna go. You know it's a real shame." As the Green Goblin remains immobilized, Bullseye questions, "What?" The Green Goblin, despite immobilized taunts, "A predator like you not recognizing a trap, even though you walked right into it." Meanwhile, Bullseye stands over the Green Goblin, unaware of the trap that awaits him. Bullseye, oblivious to the impending danger, turns around and falls victim to the trap. Spider-Man, unleashing his full strength, and lands a powerful blow square in Bullseye's face. The distraction caused by the Green Goblin allows Spider-Man to gain the upper hand, knocking Bullseye out cold with a decisive strike. Peter, still grappling with the complexity of the crime fighting, hesitantly suggests turning Bullseye over to the authorities. However, the Green Goblin dismisses the idea, explaining that it would be futile since the majority of officers work for Fisk. This revelation underscores the pervasive influence of the corruption in the city and the challenges faced by those seeking justice through conventional means. Spider-Man seeks guidance and asks, "Then what are we going to do?" The Green Goblin responds stoically, "Same thing as every day. What needs to be done." This exchange underscores the relentless nature of their fight against corruption and crime in the city. The Goblin remarks, "A place for everything and everything in its place. So that's an interesting suit you have there. I bet some people think it's very cool." Spider-Man confidently responds, "That's because it is cool." The Green Goblin retorts, "But that, as it may, instead of cool, others might call it something else, proprietary." As he presses a button, the Pico Suit responds, "Suit preparing and enable connecting." Spider-Man, unaware of the underlying complexity, doesn't realize that the Pico Suit was designed collaboratively by Oscorp and Stark Industries. The The Green Goblin, however, is cognizant of his influence over Spider-Man's Pico Suit. As the mask of Spider-Man slowly deactivates, his face is revealed to the Green Goblin, but the Green Goblin also reveals his face and says, "Hi, I'm Harry." Spider-Man responds, "I'm Peter," to which the Green Goblin replies, "Well, Peter, I don't know if you noticed or not, but the world is a strange and dangerous place these days." Peter responds, "Yeah, I'm starting to notice that." This acknowledgement underscores Peter's growing awareness of the perilous state of the world around him, reflecting his evolving understanding of the challenges he faces as Spider-Man. Peter Parker and Harry Osborn, amidst the chaos and debris of their surroundings, share a moment of recognition. Despite their different paths in the universe, they lock eyes, each sensing a connection that transcends their current circumstances. In other words, they were best friends much earlier in other universes. Harry Osborn suggests, "You want to get a drink? Maybe a talk about it?" Peter agrees, responding, "Sure, let's get a drink." Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 4. Now, I like to think he isn't a bad guy, but in a lot of ways, him being a good guy would be more upsetting to certain people. It implies that something is wrong with the world, and maybe he's what we're looking for, a cure for what ails us. Gwen Stacy, referring to Harry Osborn, who is the Green Goblin. Peter Parker's secret life starts fraying the edges of his personal life. J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker's pursuit of truth, or at least the news, stirs unrest with the world at large. And now that Spider-Man may not have to operate alone, the real work of rebuilding this corrupt world can begin. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 4. Peter and Mary Jane are out on the town, which is rare for them because ever since they had kids, they don't get out exactly as they used to. Normally, they wouldn't even be able to set foot in a restaurant as exclusive and hotty-toddy as this. Thankfully, Peter has someone opening doors for him in the form of Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn had discovered the secret identity of Spider-Man, who is, of course, is Peter Parker, and that Harry Osborn himself is the vigilante known as the Green Goblin. They had gotten a drink last month, and they have become friends, colleagues, or partners. Harry says, "The crowd here can be a bit insufferable, just awful people. I eat here at least once a week." This is the first encounter of Mary Jane meeting Harry Osborn. However, there will be another encounter for Mary Jane and Peter to meet Harry's wife for the first time, who is Gwen Stacy. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadow. 3 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter, now a married father of 2, that same radioactive spider along with a Picotech suit and warnings of the Maker's Council. The spider's bite gifted Peter incredible powers that he used to aid a mass vigilante called Green Goblin against an assassin sent by Wilson Fisk, an agent of the Maker's Council. Somehow, Green Goblin was able to take control of Peter's Picotech suit, expose his identity, but he also revealed himself as Harry Osborn, the billionaire heir of Oscorp Industries. According to Harry at dinner, Gwen Stacy has become a major power player in the business world, all on her own. She's actually a billionaire and achieved this by herself. The conversation eventually turns towards Mary Jane, who works in public relations. Similar to her counterpart in the 616 universe, Mary Jane started as a model, but this MJ was extra proactive. She took control of her own image, handled all her own marketing, and did such a good job that she started getting paid by other people to do it. It wasn't long before she was hired by one of the bigger companies and got her own corner office with a big salary. However, Mary Jane didn't like compromising her morals, especially when asked to work from some sort of evil person or corporation in crisis management, including Norman Osborn and the old Oscorp. This is why Mary Jane recently decided to strike out on her own and start her own PR company. One of her first brand new clients is Ben and J. Jonah Jameson, brand new news endeavor, a name that Mary Jane actually gave to the 2 old guys. J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker are babysitting the Parker kids. Mary Jane came up with the name The Paper, which will be an online publication rather than in print. May Parker is not a big fan of J. Jonah Jameson. The question is, why does Mary Parker not like Jonah? The question arises at the table as Mary Jane asks Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy if they have any children. Gwen, with her head down, responds, "Children? No, I like to think I'd be a good mom, but none for us yet. We're considering it, though." Harry chimes in, stating stating the world we're bringing them into has changed. Mary Jane interrupts with more questions asking about the duration of their marriage. Harry responds, "Oh, who can say? Hard to keep track when every day is a dream." These initial conversations prompt further questions about Gwen Stacy's whereabouts before this dinner, how she became a billionaire on her own, and the true dynamic between Gwen Stacy and Harry Osborn. Harry Osborn expresses his disdain for newspapers, believing that they often report inaccurate information and push biased agendas, particularly under Wilson Fisk's control at the Daily Bugle. Gwen Stacy, however, sees hopes in the potential of these two old news people running the news site and their willingness to delve deep into news stories. She remarks, "I can think of a few reasons why a couple of crusty old guys with nothing to lose might be useful." Gwen acknowledges Peter's commendable work in capturing images of Spider-Man Vigilante. Peter admits that he currently works for the Bugle, but acknowledges that circumstances could change. Being a fan of Spider-Man herself, Gwen recognizes that he is filling a need in the market, as people have long been eager for this type of hero. Gwen has expressed herself and indicates she would like to visit the ladies' room. Mary Jane offers to accompany her, adding a reminder for the two boys to behave in their absence. In the ladies' room, Gwen Stacy explains that Oscorp absorbed everything from the now defunct Stark and Stain Company. This is why the Green Goblin was able to manipulate the Pico Suit. Gwen adds that the company has way too much money sitting around. She expresses her hope to Mary Jane as the brand manager that she could set something up between her and the grumpy old men of the paper. Gwen is inclined to see if she could help launch Jonah and Ben's newspaper by giving money to the paper. This seems suspicious, similar to what happened at the Daily Bugle. Wilson Fisk. Harry Osborn questions Peter if he has told Mary Jane about his superpowers and what he does at night. Harry Osborn does not have any secrets from Gwen Stacy and is insinuating that she knows Peter is Spider-Man. Peter responds, "I haven't told MJ because look, it's not that I don't trust her or anything. That would be ridiculous. But I have to protect them, don't I?" Harry Osborn challenges Peter's beliefs, saying, "You seriously think you can live this life and insulate the people you love from the consequences?" Harry admits he's just a guy with a suit, but Peter has abilities and is more. Osborn emphasizes, "It's on us to save the world." Peter counters, "For the first time in my life, I'm doing something I'm good at, stopping bad people from doing bad things. It feels right." Peter expresses skepticism about the idea of saving the world, stating, "It sounds too big." Harry says, "I'm not going to tell you what you have to do, Peter, or how to do it. It's not my place. It's not my call. You have to decide that. Nobody's forcing you to come along for the ride, but you need to understand where this is headed and what we're up against. These people, they're playing God and they're playing for keeps. And worse than that, they've been doing it our whole lives. It's institutional. It's systematic. It's the whole damn world." Harry Osborn delivers the iconic line, "You have great power, Peter, and with great power comes great responsibility. It's such a gift, but only if you use it." MJ and Peter are walking home discussing their evening. MJ admits she likes the Osborns, but she finds them really scary and intense. Peter then asks, "Does the world need heroes?" MJ responds, "What do I need heroes for, Peter? I've got you." The end of the evening with Peter's hand over MJ's shoulder and MJ's hand over Peter's back. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 5. Am I a boy or a man? Am I a hero or something else? I guess we're about to find out. Quote, Green Goblin, Harry Osborn. The secret history of Harry Osborn. How does the heir apparent of Oscorp become a masked vigilante? And what does Green Goblin know of his true status of the world he lives in? All and more will be revealed. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 5. Months ago, on a fateful day, Norman Osborn and his wife Amelia were waiting for their son Harry, who was running late. Amelia reassured Norman, saying, "I'm sure he'll be here soon and surely has a good reason." Norman replied, "No, you're either where you're supposed to be or you're not. Anything else is just an excuse. You shouldn't offer them for him, and he shouldn't offer them for himself." Just then the phone rang. Norman answered it and said, "Where are you?" Harry says he's a couple blocks away and will be there in just 5 minutes. Norman Osborn is not happy. "Son, you know who you're supposed to be meeting, and I've stressed how important today is. This is unacceptable. Harry responds, look, I'm sorry, Dad. I'll tell you why I'm late, but it wouldn't matter, would it? Norman asks, what name do you bear? Harry replies, Osborn. Norman says, it's a great name. It means something. Harry, do you know what my favorite memory of you is? Harry says, yeah, the time we played catch. Norman responds, no, that's you, the little boy talking. That's the memory of a child. My favorite memory is the day you finally started acting like a man, like an Osborn. The problem is, it hasn't happened yet. Then the explosion happened, blowing up his father and mother, Norman and Emily Osborn. The last memory Harry has of his father saying to act like a man, to act like an Osborn. Harry Osborn just stares at the explosion, haunted forever by these last words. A diabolical genius known as the Maker created his ideal Earth by systematically preventing anyone from ever becoming a superhero. To rule his perfected Earth, he placed supervillains in charge of different regions, and together, the Maker's Council quietly orchestrated the history of the world. When Tony Stark discovered the true history of the world, the Maker's Council perpetrated a terrible attack on New York City in Stark's name. Two of the victims in the attack were Norman Osborn, CEO of Oscorp, and his wife Emily, and now their son Harry Osborn is about to learn the truth of the world himself in a quest for justice along the way, eventually leading him to a masked vigilante named Peter Parker. A few weeks later, Bill the attorney, who has known Norman Osborn for 40 years and served as a personal attorney for 30 years, informs Harry Osborn and his wife Gwen Stacy Osborn about the inheritance. All of Norman's estate and personal assets now belong to Harry. Additionally, Norman's companies will also be Harry's, although this process will take about 6 months. However, the controlling interest is already his, and both Harry and Gwen will sit on the board. Oscorp will be run by Harry Osborn. Bill mentions one more thing. A card was delivered that morning, meant for Harry. Harry opens the card to find an image of a chess piece, the king. Harry finds himself summoned to a secret meeting with Wilson Fisk, who to the outside world is disguised as an entrepreneurial businessman, but is in reality so much more. Due to his business connections through his father, Harry knows full well that Wilson Fisk is actually the shadow governor of New York and the kingpin of Manhattan, as decreed by the Maker, secret cabal, the people who actually run the world. In this new ultimate universe, due to the Maker's tinkering, countries no longer exist as they once did. Instead, they have protectorates. The old boss of North American Protectorate just so happened to be Tony Stark's father, Howard, but now he's dead too. This leaves the question of what will be done with Stark Stain Corp. Obadiah Stane had no children, meaning all control was ceded to the kingpin. However, there's a twist. He doesn't want it. Wilson fully admits that he's no scientist and has no idea what he actually inherited in Stark Stain Corp. Because of this, he's planning to sell it all off to Harry, hoping that Harry can use his knowledge to figure out exactly what the Stark family left behind. 2 weeks later, Harry Osborn and Gwen Stacy Osborn, along with a third party, Otto Octavius, are at the site. It took Otto 2 days to cut through the wall. This is not a titanium wall, but some kind of self-healing composite. Now Harry wants to see what's inside. As soon as they enter, they see the Iron Man suits. They found the lights, but they did not lead to electricity. There is an external power source. Inside this room, there's a fully functional arc reactor. Gwen Stacy observes all this, but is primarily looking for the data. The real goal is to learn how to make the suits. Otto Octavius notes there is a terminal attached to what he assumes is a data array. If what they're looking for exists, it is probably archived here. The trio's current objective is to find the information and data on how to build the suits and understand what happened. Dr. Octavius accesses the computer and finds account suit designs, history folders, and everything they need. When Stacy becomes more interested in ensuring that Dr. Octavius signs a non-disclosure agreement, NDA, to prevent him from disclosing or using any of this information. This version of Dr. Octavius does not resemble the usual Doc Ock from Earth 616. He is skinnier and more in shape. 4 months ago, Dr. Octavius and Norman Osborn combined their efforts to create a new suit with modifications resulting in the new Green Goblin suit. Dr. Octavius designed the Goblin suit with a lighter shade of green. From the files, they have discovered who is truly controlling this world and who set off the bomb. They understand the extent of the damage intended to be inflicted with the new Goblin bombs. The hovercraft is powered by Stark repulsor technology, the same technology that enables Tony Stark's Iron Man to fly and is linked and controlled by the helmet. Once Once Harry put on the helmet, the AI system integrated with all of Howard's tech provided them with a map of every piece of Stark technology currently out in the world. This technology is activating every day, constantly. Every Pico Suit and every piece of Stark tech distributed to launch new heroes is now visible to Harry Osborn, and there's a lot of it out there. We then fast forward 3 months to the current events. In a flashback, Harry goes out as the Green Goblin not long after Spider-Man's first run-in with the Shocker. It's revealed that the Shocker's gauntlets are Stark tech. This raises the question, how would someone like the Shocker get his hands on Stark tech, especially since Tony Stark wouldn't have given it to him directly? Harry digs deeper and finds a dead man watching one of the same hollow messages that Iron Lad had sent. During a fight, the Green Goblin demonstrates the ability to turn off Stark tech. Harry confronts Shocker, asking him how he acquired the tech. Shocker explains, I was robbing this guy's apartment. Turns out he must have died of a heart attack or something while sitting in his favorite chair. Anyway, there was this light, and the terrorist kid started talking, and then the light stopped. These gloves were just sitting there, so I put them on. The Green Goblin believes Stark is still alive. Without his activated gloves, the Shocker tries to attack the Green Goblin, but his efforts are futile. Desperately, the Shocker pleads, you don't understand, I've got a wife, she's sick, I'm sorry. But the Green Goblin knocks him out, leaves the money, and takes the Shocker's gloves. 2 months later, Peter and Harry Osborn went out for drinks. The first question Harry asked was, what do you do? Peter replied, I'm a journalist. I mostly take pictures for the Daily Bugle. Harry then asked, are you married? Peter responded, yes, I'm married. And he knew about Harry Osborn because he's the son of Norman Osborn and one of the most well-known person in the city. Harry suggested maybe we should do dinner sometime with the wives. Peter cautiously replied, let's see how drinks go first. Harry Osborn says, tell me something. Did Tony Stark appear to you out of thin air and give you the suit? Peter responds, there was more to it than that. But yeah, did the same thing happen to you? Harry replies, no, I found all this out the hard way. Peter asks, care to define the hard way? Harry explains, well, after Stark was involved in the death of my parents, I inherited my father's company. Then I basically given Stark's company as well. After that, while reading through all the Stark family secrets, I discovered that the people who gave me the company might just be the most evil people in the history of the world. It's very possible that they, not Stark, are the ones who really have my parents' blood on their hand. Harry says, which I find unacceptable. So now I have a new job. Peter responds, okay, fair enough. I guess that qualifies as the hard way. Harry replies, thanks. Do you know why Stark picked you? Peter answers, yeah, he said I was supposed to be someone else, have a different life, which was stolen from me by the same people you're talking about, I'm guessing. Harry asks, and now you're going to do something about it? Peter says, he said I was supposed to be a hero, and as soon as he said that, I knew it in my bones. So yeah, of course, we're going to do something about it. That's what heroes do. Harry Osborn, as the Green Goblin says, at first I thought it was just your suit that gave you your powers. Honestly, you were the suit because it took almost a month to peel you out of it. So imagine my surprise when I found out the problem went a little deeper. You have some sort of embedded exoskeleton under your skin, and while it's impressive taking it off, that had to hurt. This is this universe's Bullseye. He is restrained. Bullseye responds, pain is part of the process. Bullseye continues, when my master lost his eye, my brothers and sisters tore out mine in solidarity. Do you have any idea what kind of devotion it takes to do such a thing? That's what you're dealing with. Harry replies, oh, I believe you're committed. I believe your master, all your masters are the world's evidence of that, but you need to understand, I am committed too. You're going to give me answers because I need them. You're going to tell me everything, and I don't care how long it takes to get what I want. Bullseye, showing resilience, says, you think answers are going to let you sleep at night? Harry retorts, I sleep like a baby knowing you're in here and I'm out there. No one here is afraid of you. Bullseye smirks. There's nothing wrong with lying to yourself. It's how most people get through all day. But I've seen it all, son, and I promise you, everyone thinks they want to be a hero until it actually costs something, and it always does. We make sure of that. Then we get to see what you really are. Harry contemplates. My father always talked about the difference between being a boy and a man, and maybe he was right, but maybe you are too. Am I a boy or a man? Am I a hero or something else? I guess we're about to find out. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 5. Oh, Peter, isn't it obvious? You're Spider-Man. Quote, Mary Jane Watson Parker. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 5 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter, that same radioactive spider, along with a Pico suit and warnings of the Maker's Council. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider bite to fight crime alongside a masked vigilante called Green Goblin, Harry Osborn, co-CEO of Oscorp. They met fighting an assassin hired by Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of New York and a subordinate of the Maker's Council. Fisk is also as owner of the Daily Bugle, Peter's boss. But so far, Peter has managed to keep his second life a secret from everyone, well, except his daughter May. Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 6. We pick up with Peter Parker at home in the morning, sitting down for breakfast. When everyone sees his face, they naturally have questions. Peter's face is visibly battered, making it obvious he took a severe beating. He tries to play it off, explaining that he was working late and had some bad luck and got injured. While they're having this conversation, his young daughter blurts out that it happened because he was being a superhero. With this information coming out, Mary Jane has a lot more questions. Peter then explains to his family exactly how it happened. Peter Parker starts to explain the story of what happened last night at the Fisk building. Peter and Harry Osborn were doing surveillance on Wilson Fisk as he entered his building. Ironically, Fisk turned around and looked directly in the vicinity where the Green Goblin and Spider-Man were hiding. The Green Goblin says, "We'll give the guards time to finish checking their rooms and take up their posts outside. Then we'll go in. You ready?" Spider-Man replies, "I guess." The Green Goblin responds, "What do you mean, I guess? This is the guy behind the guy. We get to him, we get to them." Spider-Man says, "Sure, but mystery box and men in shadows aside, I've never broken into anyone's house before or broken a law, any law." The Green Goblin says, "It's a necessary evil, Peter." Spider-Man then says, "Hey, don't use my name while we're in costume. Why wear a mask if you're going to do that? Use a code name or something." The Green Goblin replies, "But we don't have code names." Spider-Man retorts, "You do. You're the Green Goblin. That's what everyone's been calling you." At this moment, Harry Osborn officially adapts the code name, the Green Goblin. Spider-Man gathers the courage to do what needs to be done. The ambush of Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, begins as the Green Goblin says, "Let's go." Spider-Man lists the laws he's breaking and entering, destruction of property, assault. Peter Parker has never committed a crime before as the Green Goblin and Spider-Man swing and glide respectively over Wilson Fisk's home. They come crashing through the windows. Wilson Fisk, with a tone of irony, says, "Oh, company, what a surprise. Can't you see how surprised I am?" Kingpin is pouring himself a drink as he starts talking to the two superheroes. He tells them that Manhattan is his and that every camera within a 3-block radius feeds into his building. He is aware that they have been watching him for days and was beginning to wonder when they were going to invite themselves in or if he would have to invite them in himself. Kingpin was expecting them and asks, "What do you want?" The Green Goblin replies, "I know you answer to someone, that all this goes much deeper than it appears, and we're here to find out who that is." Kingpin questions how they learned something like that, and the Green Goblin tells him, "Your assassin told me. The assassin is Bullseye from the last issue." Spider-Man is surprised about the means the Green Goblin went to get this information. William Fisk does not seem concerned about the torture, noting that it wasn't even his guy. He adds, "The lesson there is if you want something done, do it yourself." The Kingpin presses a button, locking the Green Goblin and Spider-Man in a cage with him, Wilson Fisk. The Kingpin is not afraid of the Green Goblin or Spider-Man. In fact, he is absolutely sure he is stronger and faster and will beat them. He picks up a table and throws it at the superheroes. Spider-Man goes full defense, his spider senses warning him about the table, but the Green Goblin is not so lucky as the table hits him straight on. Spider-Man then tries to attack by webbing the Kingpin's face. As As Spider-Man jumps on the Green Goblin's back, striking at him, it means nothing. The Kingpin easily takes Spider-Man off his back, grabs him by the neck, and prepares to punch him. The Kingpin's hands are huge, and his strength is superhuman. Spider-Man questions, "You could have killed the Green Goblin," and the Kingpin coldly replies, "That is the idea." Just as Spider-Man was about to receive the final death blow, the Green Goblin hits the Kingpin with a Goblin blaster and then throws a Goblin bomb right on top of him. The Green Goblin says, "Playing for keeps is a dangerous game, Mr. Fix. There's still time for you to reconsider." The Kingpin has undergone self-improvements and has recently upgraded himself. We don't know the full extent, but we do know he can take a grenade straight to the face without a bit of damage. This Wilson Fisk is supercharged, capable of withstanding grenades, laser blasts, and sporting a whole new set of tattoos on his body. This is an upgraded Kingpin. As he charges towards the Green Goblin, he brings him to the floor and starts to ground and pound, cracking the face mask of the Green Goblin. This time, the Green Goblin looks to be one punch away from death. The Kingpin says, "God, don't you understand? The world you live in, there is no one listening, no one to save you. You're all alone. It's all over." Spider-Man grabs the Kingpin's fist just before it lands a devastating blow on the Green Goblin. However, the Kingpin quickly grabs Spider-Man by the waist and slams him down effortlessly. Now it's Spider-Man's turn to endure punch after brutal punch. Realizing they cannot overpower the Kingpin, the Green Goblin signals for his glider. Harry, realizing they needed to escape, activated his glider's missile, which blasted a hole in the wall. This allowed them to make a hasty retreat, finally understanding the true threat posed by the Kingpin. As they fled, it became clear that the Kingpin is a formidable adversary. Observing the aftermath of a brutal encounter that left Spider-Man beaten and the Green Goblin in ruins. Back in the present, Peter Parker recounts the recent events to his family, explaining how he ended up getting roughed up. Ben, his teenage son, expresses ethical concerns about his actions, breaking into someone's house and engaging in a physical altercation which were against the law. Peter justifies his action by emphasizing that the person he confronted, Wilson Fisk, is a dangerous individual involved in nefarious activities. He admits there are personal motives at play, but emphasizes the necessity of stopping wrongdoing, which aligns with his role as Spider-Man. May Parker questions if Peter will have to confront Wilson Fisk again, to which Peter, with his bruised face, asserts that they cannot allow Fisk to continue harming innocent people. Spider-Man will indeed face Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, once more. Mary Jane wants to know, "Are we safe? Are you safe?" Peter reassures her, saying, "Yes, I believe so. No one knows who isn't a friend, and I plan to keep it that way." He emphasized the importance of keeping their family secret, adding, "This has to be a family secret, so you guys can't tell anyone else, ever, okay?" Mary Parker remarks humorously, "Don't look at me. I didn't tell anyone for like 4 whole months." Ben Parker expressed concern about not knowing sooner, while his sister did. Peter admits, "I couldn't find the right time or the right words, and I wasn't sure. I'm sorry, I should have, especially after May found out." Ben understands and assures his dad, saying, "It's okay, Dad." Peter sends the kids to bed and tries to gauge Mary Jane's thoughts, wondering if she's upset. Ben Parker then speaks up, expressing his curiosity and concern. "You know, I have a lot of questions, like a lot more." He then earnestly tells his dad, "Please be careful." Peter asks tentatively, "So I'm afraid to ask, but how mad are you?" Mary Jane responds reassuringly, "Peter, I'm not mad. A lot confused. Sure, stuff is suddenly making sense, but I'm not mad. I do wish you could have told me sooner, but hearing you tell us what happened, scary as it was, I'm mostly proud. Call it 30% scared, 40% impressed. There may be other numberings for other things." Peter says, "You want to see the suit, don't you?" Mary Jane replies eagerly, "Oh yes, I most certainly do." Mary Jane continues, "I think this definitely works, Mr. Parker. So you're faster, stronger." Peter confirms, "Yes, ma'am." Mary Jane remarks, "And all that from a little spider? Well, I can't wait to see you in action. So what am I supposed to do? Call you when you're in costume?" Peter admits, actually, that came up recently, and he has no idea. Mary Jane says, "Well, you really do need a code name. I have to warn you, I'm expensive. I charge a lot, and by the hour." Peter's taken aback. "You're Spider-Man," says Mary Jane. Mary Jane chuckles as Peter takes his wife on his back for a swing across New York City. The family now knows Peter Parker's secret identity as Spider-Man, which has been haunting him for the last 6 months. months. However, Peter still faces many challenges ahead, especially dealing with Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Will Wilson Fisk uncover Peter Parker's identity and threaten someone close to him? Could it be Mary Jane or Ben Parker? Only time will tell. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 7. The Ultimates return. The new arc starts here. After their intense battle with the Kingpin, Green Goblin and Spider-Man both know they aren't as ready to reshape the world as they hope. Harry and Peter get to work while Ben and Jonah work on the truth, and problems for their resistance arise when the Ultimates return. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 7. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 6 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Pico suit and warnings of the Maker's Council, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider's bite to fight crime. Fighting alongside Peter is the Green Goblin, aka Harry Osborn, who learned the truth of the world and how his parents died at the hands of the Maker's Council when his company Oscorp bought Stain Stark Industries at the behest of William Fisk, the Kingpin of New York and a subordinate of the Maker's Council. At the Oscorp building, Dr. Otto Octavius is working on the Green Goblin suit. He says, "It's a beautiful thing, don't you think?" Harry Osborn explains to Peter who Dr. Octavius is. Harry says this is Otto Octavius. He graduated from high school at 12 and earned his master's degree by 16. After that, he was handpicked by my dad to be a research resident. Big brain dad, said Otto, reminded him a lot of me if I actually had work ethic, was reliable, and had anything remotely resembling above average intelligence. Norman Osborn was not kind to his son. Otto responds, "Come on, Harry, you know that's not true, mostly." As for the suit, Otto continues, "This thing is so well designed, complicated but elegant. I do not think I finally wrapped my hands around it." Harry needs Otto to explain him how the suit works and how to best utilize it. Otto Octavius says, "So here's where we're at. Your suits are both Stark tech, but they're still built using two completely different types of engineering. Call it Stark 1.0 and Stark 2.0. Harry, your suit is essentially a dedicated piece of very sophisticated hardware. Top of the line, flawless, constructed, pressed. I'd actually call it the perfect war machine. I mean, it's more than that. Sure, navigation, propulsion, and onboard AI, but as a piece of tech, I can get inside it and customize it to whatever you want. We own it now, top to bottom, back to front. But this Picotech suit of yours, Spider-Man, it's beyond that. Highly adaptable, transformable, and well, that's going to take a bit more time." Peter Parker is cautious of Dr. Otto Octavius, but Harry Osborn vouches for him, saying, "You'll see." Dr. Octavius continues, "So both suits run the same network. They don't have to. They can operate independently, but while they do, they subject to network commands, which is how Harry shuts off your suit the first time the two of you met. But here's the amazing thing about the suits. Up until now, they've both been running in some kind of safe mode. They actually have an onboard AI that you can use for anything. Combat analysis, life support, any kind of higher fusion problem solving, really. We just need to turn them on and give them a profile to map." Dr. Octavius explains, "Yes, think of it as a personality, but it's more than that. More like a base level consciousness. I prepared several archetypes to choose from. Napoleon, Lincoln, Caesar, Gandhi. I've even made one of me should you be inclined. So what will it be?" Peter, however, opts not to choose any pre-made profile, instead deciding that the suit will copy and profile his own brain patterns. Dr. Octavius then turns to Harry and asks him which profile he wants. Harry, after a moment of thought, asks, "If you had enough data, can you construct a profile from historic or personal record?" When Dr. Octavius confirms that he can, Harry makes his decision. "I want my dad," he says, choosing to have Norman Osborn as the AI profile in the Green Goblin suit. At the offices of the paper, Mary Jane and Gwen Stacy Osborn walk down the street. Gwen says, "You know, there's this thing that dead things do where after a while, all that's left are the bones, right?" Mary Jane responds, responds, you know, most people know better than to judge a book by its cover. I think you'll be surprised with what we've done. Gwen, curious but skeptical, says, all right, after you. Let's see what my money's bought me. When they arrive, they find the door locked and a note attached. Mary Jane reads it out loud. They're not here. The door's locked. They left a note. The note says, sorry, had to run out. Gwen Stacy has bought and funded the paper, which is now run by J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker. We pick up with Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker as they arrive at a shady little parking garage. The setting very cloak and dagger, all very secretive. They're light-heartedly making fun of the situation, but the mood shifts when they're handed an envelope. Opening it, they quickly realize that it's no small matter. The person playing the cloak and dagger role turns out to be Robbie Robertson, someone who used to work with them at the Bugle. Robbie isn't allowed to publish the story himself. He's afraid of who might be watching, of who might be looking, so he's handing it over to Ben and Jonah to follow up on. But there's more. Robbie agrees to be their inside man. While he may eventually join their side officially, for now he's going to act as their spy on the inside. Ben Parker halfingly jokes, well, Mr. Robinson, I gotta say I'm a little shocked at what a scoundrel you've become. J. Jonah Jameson quickly adds with a grin, what Ben means is he's never been more proud, and I have to say I agree. Next, we move to a meeting between Captain Britain and Wilson Fisk. Captain Britain admits that Fisk was right. The situation has grown into a much larger problem than he initially believed, a lesson he recently learned as seen in Ultimates issue number 1. However, Captain Britain says he has a solution and comes bearing gifts, an entire team of agents of bullseyes. He admits it embarrasses him that he lacks a more subtle approach, but he supposes there are worse ideas than throwing numbers at a problem. When Wilson Fisk is offered this gift, he declines, confidently stating that he knows his adversaries, knows they can be beaten, and knows how to do it on his own terms. When asked about his plan to handle the situation, Fisk responds that it's not just one plan, but 6 of them, referring to the formation of the new Sinister Six. Later, we open with Spider-Man landing a right hook on the Green Goblin, who responds, not gonna lie, I felt that, Spider-Man, then offers the Green Goblin a hand to help him up from the floor. The Green Goblin accepts Spider-Man's hand and he turns to Otto Octavius asking, you get what you needed? Otto replies, I think so. Now we have a baseline for performance and tactical scenario. The next step is activating the suits, AIs, and recording any changes in functionality. But just to be clear, once they're on, they're on. I'm pretty sure we have to completely reboot the suit to turn them off for good. Understand? Both Spider-Man and the Green Goblin agree as the activation of the AI shocks both heroes. The artificial intelligence profiles have been uploaded. Harry Osborn's AI says, all right, son, show me what you're made of. The Green Goblin interprets this and tells Peter, hey, Pete, sorry about this, but my father says I have to kick your ass now. Peter Parker's profile, which is based on himself, responds, speaking of dad, you know who's a good one? We are. Just the best. Love those kids, and both of their birthdays are coming up. We should get them something really good. I bet Harry's dad gave the worst presents. You should take it easy on him. Spider-Man then says, you know what, Harry? Maybe this isn't the best idea. The Green Goblin looks straight at Spider-Man and replies, no, we're doing this. Hit me. The fight begins and Spider-Man says, remember you asked for it. He dodges the first punch and leaves his hand open, allowing the Green Goblin to grab it and pull him in close for 2 roundhouse punches. The AI version of Norman Osborn guiding Harry approves of the violence, saying, good. The AI of Norman Osborn continues. A fight isn't won after one good punch. As Spider-Man falls back, he quickly uses webbing to sling himself right back at the Green Goblin, pulling him closer to deliver 2 roundhouse punches of his own. The AI relentlessly advises the Green Goblin, warning him, never let your guard down. There's always someone out there trying to beat you, hurt you, take everything from you. They killed me. What do you think they'll do to you? It then berates Harry Osborn, calling him soft. The AI, much like the real Norman Osborn, uses poisonous words to manipulate and demonize his son. The fight escalates as the Green Goblin fires lasers at Spider-Man, who skillfully dodges them using his spider senses and counters with another hit. However, the constant barrage of manipulated words from the AI of Norman Osborn starts to take the toll on Harry Osborn's mind. The AI taunts, soft, I always wondered just how weak you are, Harry. I'm beginning to think I know. You're not avenging me. me, son. You're embarrassing me. These heavy words are designed to break Harry down, pushing him further into his father's toxic influence. The Green Goblin unleashes a massive blast from his chest, reminiscent of Iron Man's suit, sending Spider-Man crashing into some crates. Spider-Man winces and says, "That hurt. We okay, you think?" His AI, with a touch of concern, responds, "Our diagnostics are within acceptable levels. We'll be fine, but he needs therapy." Harry Osborn, seeking approval, asks the Norman Osborn AI, "Well, Dad, how is that?" The AI coldly replies, "Acceptable." Dr. Octavius says, "Oh, that's odd. I'm picking up on a third carrier signal. Something's not right." The Green Goblin turns to Spider-Man and asks, "You okay? Need a hand?" Spider-Man replies, "Oh, now you go easy on me." Harry says, "Hey, don't act like you didn't get a couple of good hits in, but sorry if I went a little overboard." Just then, suddenly, Dr. Octavius shouts, "We have a problem. That's a third carrier wave, another signal on the Stark network. I try to lock it down, but there's a back door and it's active. Someone else is on the network." The third carrier on the network is none other than the Iron Lad. He says, "I told you I'd be back in 6 months, and here I am. I just have one question for you. Are you a hero yet?" Iron Lad had previously sent a message to Peter Parker promising to return in 6 months to check on him. Peter Parker, as Spider-Man, has always been the Maker's #1 concern. The Maker, from his experiences, knows that Peter Parker Spider-Man changes everything. In alternate what-if scenarios, we see that a world without Spider-Man is vastly different. We also know from the Ultimates and even from Ultimate Spider-Man issues that gaining powers doesn't automatically make someone a superhero. They need a catalyst, something that pushes them to become a hero. Now, Iron Lad is here to see if Peter Parker has become that hero yet. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 8. This city is mine, and what is mine I have divided over the years and given a portion to each of you. But now it seems our city has an infestation. Some rats have forgotten their place. Quote the Kingpin. Kingpin's Sinister Six. Kingpin gathers a team to deal with his masked vigilante problem, but a group of supervillains isn't the only challenge Spider-Man will face. Meanwhile, Green Goblin joins forces with Doc Ock. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 8. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 7 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter Parker that same radioactive spider along with a Pico suit and warnings of the Maker's Council, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider bite to fight crime alongside Green Goblin, aka Harry Osborn, the co-CEO of Oscorp. When Peter and Harry were brutally defeated by Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin of Manhattan, Peter's entire family learned of his secret identity. But right now, Peter has more pressing problems. Tony Stark has returned. We are in New York City on a very hot day in August. Peter Parker is focused on his artificial intelligence Pico Suit, staring intently at the orb. Mary Jane calls out to him, "Peter, I think we're going to be late." "Peter," I said, "I think we're going to be late." Peter doesn't hear Mary Jane at first, but then he snaps out of his thoughts and apologizes, asking, "What were you saying, Mary Jane?" Mary Jane repeats, "We're going to be late. I was thinking you and Ben could swing by and grab the cake while the kids and I head straight over." Peter agrees without hesitation, but Mary Jane notices something off and asks, "Hey, you okay? Is something wrong?" Peter responds, "Well, I have a lot on my mind. Most of all, can you believe the kids are going to be a year older?" After Mary Jane leaves, Peter Parker's artificial intelligence speaks up, saying, "Well, that's disappointing, but tell the kids I said happy birthday." Peter is amazed that the suit is talking to him, even though he's not wearing it. "You're a voice in my head," Peter asks in disbelief. The artificial intelligence responds, "I talk all the time, Peter. I believe we've had our conversation." This suit is reminiscent of the symbiote, where the AI or the symbiote can communicate and react even when Peter isn't wearing it. The artificial intelligence in Peter Parker's suit says, "I'm a perfect replica of your psyche housed in a total independent, completely adaptable Pico shell. Of course I can talk." Peter, surprised, asks, "Okay, what else can you do that I don't know about?" The AI responds, "I can do all kinds of things." Although Peter doesn't have time to explore this now, he promises they'll have a conversation about it later. The AI replies, "I look forward to it, and please remember to wish the kids a happy birthday for me." This new suit raises many any questions for Peter. We go back 3 weeks ago when the Iron Lad shows up to see if Peter Parker Spider-Man has learned how to become a hero. Peter's first question is, why is my suit so different from his and yours for that matter? Referring to the Green Goblin suit and the Iron Lad suit. The Iron Lad explains, it was the last breakthrough my father made before. It was the last thing he made. The Pico tech is revolutionary, way beyond anything I know how to make. When I was putting together the package you sent me back in time, I thought it should go to someone who might need it the most. Something special for someone special. Spider-Man replies, thanks, seriously, thank you. That's the nicest thing anyone has said to me all day. I mean, this guy's been punching me around for hours while the other sicko just watches. Still, I gotta ask, what do you mean? What makes me so special? The Iron Lad responds, you don't know. Of course you don't. How could you? You're special because, well, you're at the top of the list. The Green Goblin questions, list? What list? Iron Lad, or rather Tony Stark, explains, there's a database that exists from when the guy who built this great society was eliminating all potential resistance or opposition. There's a handful of heroes he deemed mission critical to erase from history. They are the ones who had to go. Top of the list, Dr. Octopus interjects. Wait, that wasn't in any of the files. Green Goblin adds, we did learn about the Maker and what he did, but Otto's right. There was nothing in there about that. Better not be lying. Iron Lad responds, I'm not. And who are you supposed to be in that suit of stolen armor? Green Goblin retorts, don't worry about that. As we know, the Maker had Spider-Man at the top of his list. Spider-Man is a catalyst in many universes, a crucial figure in saving them. Without Spider-Man, many battles and entire universes would have been lost. Just then, Iron Lad opens the Green Goblin's helmet, revealing Harry Osborn, just like the Green Goblin did with Spider-Man's Pico Suit earlier. Spider-Man jokes, see, not so cool when someone does it to you, is it? Iron Lad continues, I know that face. You're Harry Osborn. You stole my birthright. Harry Osborn responds, actually, I paid for it. After what I've learned, it was a fair price for a company run by traitors. Iron Lad reflects, I went to bed one day, loving the world and seeing through a child's eyes. And then I woke up in a world of monsters and men, never again able to sleep so soundly. None of our fathers are perfect, especially mine. Spider-Man interjects, so what now? Iron Lad warns, the Maker returns in a little over an hour. Best get ready for him. Green Goblin still processing everything asked, where was I on the list? Iron Lad responds, you weren't on it at all. But if you're hanging out with this guy, I'm sure you'll grow into this suit. So keep it. And the company, I've moved on bigger things. I guess we all have. I'll be in touch. Spider-Man says, he seems okay. What do you think? The Green Goblin replies to Otto, we have to find a way to upgrade the security of our suits. Otto agrees. Yes, the Green Goblin wasn't even on the list. Of course he wasn't. In the majority of universes, the Green Goblin was never good, including Harry Osborn. We pick up with Ben, Peter, and Jonah at the bakery where they're picking up a cake for the kid's birthday party. They inform Peter that the paper has officially launched, or at least has a set launch date, and when it goes live, they want Peter there. Peter reflects on the situation, noting that after working for the Bugle for over a decade, this is his career. It's a security, a job with a 401k, the whole 9 yards. However, with everything going on in his life, he's unsure now is the right time. Although he doesn't explicitly say no, he knows he'll need to talk to MJ about it. We pick up at the arcade where everyone important to Peter's family has gathered to celebrate the kids' birthdays. As they begin to cut the cake, everyone enjoys the wonderful day. J. Jonah Jameson and young Ben Parker share a special bond, talking about loneliness and the importance of meeting someone special. Jameson gives Ben a book titled I Never Lie by J. Jonah Jameson, which Ben thinks is really cool. Meanwhile, MJ calls out, who wants cake? As the kids, the Parker family, and J. Jonah Jameson all enjoy a fantastic birthday party. At the tower, Mr. Weasley says, the last one is arriving now, sir. Mr. Weasley is Mr. Fisk's right-hand man, known from the Daredevil Netflix series in Earth 616. He continues, consider I didn't even know some of them existed before this week. Getting the heads of the other 5 boroughs here for the meeting was, I admit, a difficult job, but it was a job well done. Mr. Fix, I've been with you for almost a decade, and during that time, there isn't a single legitimate business venture of yours that my hands haven't touched. My record is exemplary. Kingpin replies, yes, that is your first step into the real world, James. Are you sure you're ready for it? Mr. Weasley responds confidently, I've been waiting my whole life for this, sir. He has learned that the Kingpin rules Manhattan with an iron fist, while the other heads of the 5 territories tend to be less direct in exercising control. Mr. Weasley continues, take Martin Lee, for example. He's the CEO of the FEAST Feast Foundation. By day, it's a philanthropic outreach providing food for shelter for the needy of New York. Seemingly a good, possibly even a great man, but by night he runs the gang known as the Demons, who holds queens tightly in the grass. Their domination is untraceable, and any enemy who threatens them often crumbles from within, needing only a little push to topple. I know this is because Mr. Negative possesses psychological superhuman abilities, particularly self-mind control. This is a closely held secret and easily maintained. No reputable news organization would publish these rumors, and the Daily Bugle takes great pride in denying them. Mr. Lee is reserved, predictable, and your most dependable lieutenant. On the other hand, there's Walter Hardy, once considered the greatest top-floor thief in the world. The notorious Black Cat, seemingly retired after never having been caught, Hardy used his acquired wealth to consolidate and control his territory in the Bronx. He has also started a family, but tragically his wife passed away several years ago, leaving behind only a daughter. Outwardly, he appears to be a picture of a good soldier, but privately, we know he goes out on the prowl every night. He doesn't do it for money, he does it for the thrill. He's in this for entertainment, and as such, his motivations are unaligned with yours. I believe that makes him dangerous. The next person is even more dangerous and more directed. Sergei Kravenov. He's a billionaire oligarch excommunicated from Russia during the Rasputin Purge. The mutants were very clear. He is no longer welcome in the motherland. Sergei is a hunter born of a long line of hunters. He has hunted and killed nearly everything that can be hunted, and he always hunts in pairs. Once he kills and once he saves. Both trophies he preserves. The former is displayed in his lair, the later in his public zoo. I do not think he will be satisfied until he has killed one of everything. Kraven the Hunter controls Staten Island. The next member of the Sinister Six is Mysterio, who holds control over Brooklyn. Beyond that, we know almost nothing about him. Mr. Weasley continues, and as for the last of the lieutenants, while most people think they are 5 boroughs, there are actually 6. The underworld is larger than all the other 5 combined and serves as the foundation on which they rest. Some people think they can escape your iron fist, believe they can slip through the cracks, disappear, go underground. Well, that is his domain. It is the Mole Man, the Kingpin's oldest and most loyal comrade, who emerges through the fireplace. Kingpin addresses his lieutenants, states, this city is mine. Over the years, I have divided what is mine and given a portion to each of you. But now it seems our city has an infestation. Some rats have forgotten their place. Kraven asks, do you prefer that the 6 of us catch them, or should we kill them? Kingpin replies, actually, I was thinking we can make a game of it. The Sinister Six will go to battle with Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 9. The Sinister Six make their first strike. But who are the Sinister Six? The first member throws down with Spider-Man and the Green Goblin in this action-packed issue. Plus, with Tony Stark's return, Peter must also explore the limitations of his new suit. Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 9. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 8 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Picotech suit and warnings of the Maker's Council, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider's bite to fight crime alongside Green Goblin, aka Harry Osborn, the co-CEO of Oscorp. When Stark reappeared, Peter and Harry learned that he could seize control of their super suits. Meanwhile, Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin of Manhattan, gathered the heads of every borough of New York to declare open season on the pair of masked vigilantes. In Uptown Manhattan, September 2024, in a bar, we pick up with J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Reilly as the bartender asks if they want the bill. However, The two old men are very happy with the success of the paper, and they are celebrating. As the bartender pours them another drink, they are drinking to their success, to their victory, and this is everything they ever wanted. Just then, Mary Jane MJ comes to the door and says, "There they are, my two favorite entrepreneurs." And she tells the bartender, "I'll have whatever they're having." She then asks J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Riley, "What's with the sour looking gentlemen? Did something happen I don't know about?" The two crafty old newspaper writers are concerned about writing nonsense. J. Jonah Jameson wants to focus more on news stories and less on sensationalism, as the picture shows Spider-Man stopping crime and bank robbers with a pun that reads, "Spider-Man and friend break up a criminal ring." What an interesting is that Spider-Man is getting all the notoriety while the Green Goblin is merely known as a friend. J. Jonah Jameson says, "It's our first month of the paper being live and 8 of our top 10 stories about Spider-Man, and that's because we only have 8 Spider-Man stories." Mary Jane says, "I don't get it. People love those stories, and Pete has gotten some great pictures." Ben Riley responds, "We know, but our intention, what we want is to do a serious stories that no one is covering, stories that people are afraid to talk about instead of all this. Is this really just sensationalism?" Mary Jane says, "Well, I would call it amazing, but you two are not getting it." J. Jonah Jameson replies, "How about you explain it to us? First, you have the fastest growing online presence since, I don't know, Simon Williams." Ben Riley adds, "And how did that work out?" Mary Jane says, "Not great, but that's not the point, because two virtually overnight, and primarily because of your Spider-Man courage, you have a massive, massive new audience. The paper has a subscriber list that already numbers several hundreds of thousand readers, and it's growing like crazy every day. I showed you the projections, right?" MJ continues saying, "In the next 6 months, you two are going to be bigger than the Bugle." J. Jonah Jameson says, "Oh, I do like the sound of that." Ben Riley adds, "You bet. And thank you for all your marketing genius, MJ. We couldn't have done it without you. But there's a story we're working on and that people have to know." Mary Jane says, "Listen to me. Of course, they love the icing, but I'm betting they also love the cake. So the only thing you need to keep in mind is this. These numbers. What they mean is the devil cannot cast you out. They mean you can write whatever you want and people will see it." J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Riley love the sound of that. With all the sensationalism about Spider-Man, they now realize they can write their true articles. Mary Jane finishes by saying, "Now, do you guys want to continue this sad country song, or should we all get back to work?" Spider-Man and Green Goblin return from fighting crime and head back to Oscorp. Otto Octavia has something to show them. Otto Octavia says, "Just a little thing I like to call freedom." Otto Octavius says, "It's freedom from Stain. It's freedom from Stark for both of you. The solution's obvious. Yours is a firmware update for the suit. It's kind of simple, really. As you know, there's a carrier frequency that all Stark tech uses. This just overlays a second frequency over that individual, disrupting the Stark version and additionally creating a new frequency for us to use, which we will modulate daily so they can't do the same thing back to us." Spider-Man also has a surprise, as Dr. Octopus says, "I've had to go a little further outside the box. Your suit remains hyper advanced and nimble, but I can't solve everything. Therefore, you're going to need a new one, which I have taken the liberty of designing myself. Would you like to see it?" Spider-Man replies, "Give me a second." The second Peter needs is to speak to the nanotech suit. As Spider-Man, Peter Parker asks the suit, "So what do you think?" The suit replies, "Well, I'm offended for you, and personally my feelings are a little hurt. I understand why we don't want Stark to be able to track our movements, but I'm not sure I'm as worried about it as they are. Yes, we've been a little reckless, and a little bit of a caution probably isn't a terrible thing." Spider-Man asks, "So what do we do with you? I bet you're a luminous credit card whose balance gets paid off every month that the good doctor tries to keep me." Spider-Man turns to Dr. Otto Octavius. "Hey, if I use the new suit, what do we do with this one?" Dr. Otto Octavius responds, "I was thinking the best thing would be to build some kind of containment, a Faraday cage for it. That seems like the safest choice. Plus, it would give me more time to figure things out. You know, play around with it a little bit." The suit says, "Don't you dare leave me with him." Spider-Man says, "Yeah, not a chance. So what do we do? I could stay at home until things get sorted out. Worst case scenario, I'm the best home defense you could possibly have," the suit says. Then Peter Parker, Spider-Man says, "I was going to say no, but Stark already knows we live there." It's where he delivered you to me, so that's a non-issue, and it solves the problem of him being able to track us while Harry and I are on missions. Me too, I guess. What's left is seeing the new suit. Right? As Peter Parker says he will miss the suit and wants to see what's under the tarp, Otto Octavius lifts it. It reveals the Iron Spider. Dr. Otto Octavius says, "May I present to you the Spider Armor Mark 1. Yes, it's different from your current suit. It retains the full complement of many of your abilities minus camouflage. That remains beyond me. I took the liberty of optimizing your web shooters. This now runs a cartridge system, and the webbing is capable of holding an additional 5 tons of weight. Rocket launchers, concussion bombs, stun weapons, and cutting lasers are some of the new additions. This suit is also bulletproof, EMP resistant, and explosive proof, made from heavy duty titanium based alloy and selected with a flexible skin. Nothing's getting inside that isn't microscopic. Most importantly, it's connected to all our systems. You have full access to Oscorp's data files and diagnostics to ensure maximum performance. It's truly a weaponized Iron Spider," Dr. Otto Octavius concludes. So what do you think? This is clearly not Peter Parker style with bombs and guns. After thinking for a second, Peter Parker says, "I think I'm good." Dr. Otto Octavius, surprised, responds, "What's that mean, you're good?" Spider-Man replies, "It means no, man, no thanks." Otto Octavius, still confused, says, "No?" The Green Goblin steps in, saying, "I think what he's trying to say, Otto, is thank you. And you did a very good job for us, but perhaps it's too much suit for him. Spider-Man is lithe, agile. I don't care who says otherwise. It's possible that the suit is too generalized, maybe even a tad over-designed." Spider-Man adds, "Cool. Whatever it is, I'll take it." As Ben and J. Jonah Jameson continue digging into the Stark-stained story, they're running. They receive more files from Robbie Robertson regarding the company's financial. This will no doubt put them at odds with Harry and the people who are actually bankrolling them, especially since Gwen and Harry are secretly their benefactors. Pete and Harry get back to work, and Peter dons his new suit, which is simply spandex suit without all the bells and whistles. Essentially a classic Spider-Man costume. It's a cool, nonchalant way to shift away from the hyper-advanced suit to a more traditional hero costume. This ups the stakes as the suit doesn't offer Peter the same protection. It's just material, meaning he has to be more cautious about who he fights and how he fights. Meanwhile, the other suit becomes more of a symbiote to someone else, potentially developing its own feelings about Peter's rejection. Harry and Peter's relationship is further explored here as Harry invites Peter and his family to join him and Gwen for a vacation over Christmas. However, Peter reminds him that Christmas is for family and he has a lot of people he needs to see and be with during that time. This moment highlights how different the two men are, how differently they grew up. Harry had only his father and mother in a sterile, wealthy environment where they didn't care much for each other, while Peter has a large, loving family. Peter struggles to understand Harry's perspective, especially when Harry reveals that Gwen has already made plans to go to the Hamptons, which is why he extended the invitation to Peter and his family. Then suddenly a warning comes into Peter's head. Peter says, "You ever get that? Ever since I got my powers, sometimes I get a feeling like something's bad about to happen." Peter Parker's spider senses are coming to fruition. The Green Goblin says that's because sometimes bad is always about to happen. Peter is still trying to figure out his spider sense when out of nowhere, and just as expected, a blast from the sky. It hits the Green Goblin, immobilizing him. The Green Goblin says, "Can't move, suit's locked up." Then Black Cat appears and says, "It's fascinating. We have amazing engineers building such fabulous weapons for our great game. All the other players gave that device almost no chance of working against either of you, but I immediately knew it would work. It was the one for me. What can I say? I do love long odds." The first of the Sinister Six to go after the Green Goblin, Spider-Man as the Black Cat. Walter Hardy, better known as the Black Cat, is a notorious thief who seemingly retired without ever being caught. He used his acquired wealth to take control of territory in the Bronx with blessing of the Kingpin. He married Lydia Hardy, and they had a daughter, Felicia. After Lydia's passing, Walter joined the Sinister Six, led by the Kingpin. He was the first of the six to attack Spider-Man and Green Goblin, taking them completely by surprise. The same boat after all. Spider-Man quips, you know it's not polite to start a fight without introducing yourself. Here, I'll go first. I'm Spider-Man. And you are? The Black Cat responds, I am a shadow in the night, a whisper of a dream, my friends. What a few I allow myself to have. Graciously call me the Velvet Blade. But my enemies, they call me the Black Cat. As the Black Cat lashes out with his whips, they slice through Spider-Man's spandex suit, a blow that wouldn't have landed if he still had his Pico suit, his symbiote. As Peter felt the whip, he warns the Black Cat, maybe don't do that again. The Black Cat responds, I think you'll find, little Spider, that I will do whatever I want, whenever I want, to whoever I want. Spider-Man quips, actually not to be a stickler, but I think it's whoever and not whomever. Or wait, maybe that's backwards. Either way, why did you attack my friend? The Black Cat replies, actually, at the time, I wasn't aiming for him. I was aiming for you. I suppose the moral of the story is, men like me, we don't miss. As he speaks, the Black Cat sends his whips towards Spider-Man. The Black Cat doesn't miss as he knocks down a tower over Spider-Man. Spider-Man, feeling he is getting too cocky, he's definitely missing the symbiotic Pico suit. The Black Cat says the Kingpin of New York has called together all his captains to play the great game. You and the Goblin, you are both prey and prize. He then takes his whip and wraps it around Spider-Man's neck, choking him. Spider-Man is being choked by the Black Cat as the Black Cat says, you know what you did? You caught our attention. Then you dare lay siege to Olympus. You angered the gods, and for that sin, your lives are forfeit. Spider-Man responds, and what do you get? The Black Cat replies, that is none of your business. Spider-Man grabs his wrist, throws him overhead, slamming the Black Cat into the brick wall, and then shoots webbing at him. As the Black Cat is tied up in the webbing, Spider-Man congratulates Otto for thick webbing. The Black Cat says, I suppose living is for the young, and I am but an old man. This day has been coming for some time. Spider-Man replies, what? Go ahead, get it over with, the Black Cat says. Then the Black Cat asks, you're going to kill me now, aren't you? Spider-Man says, of course not, don't be ridiculous. As the Green Goblin gets up off the ground, he says, hey, you okay in there? As Spider-Man turns his back to the Black Cat lifts a sword, cutting through all the webbing. The Black Cat says, I guess this must be my lucky day. But then again, aren't they all? Just as he's about to strike Spider-Man, suddenly the Green Goblin's artificial intelligence, Norman Osborn, is rebooted, and the AI comes back online. AI Norman Osborn tells his son, we are back online. Don't think, son, just act. As he shoots a goblin blast right at the Black Cat. The Black Cat gets blasted off the roof, falling several stories to the ground. It doesn't look good for him, but he's still moving. Spider-Man decides to call for an ambulance. Minutes later, the ambulance arrives and picks him up off the ground. Spider-Man asks, do you think he'll live? Green Goblin replies, well, he's not dead yet. Spider-Man then says, what the hell, Harry? Green Goblin responds, what do you mean? My suit had just come back online. You turned your back and he pulled out a weapon. I did what I had to do. Spider-Man says, but I didn't feel anything, meaning his spider senses. Green Goblin replies, he would have killed you, Peter, and not thought twice about it. I heard what he said to you about him, Fisk, and God knows whoever else making a game of hunting us. I'm afraid we're running out of time here. You need to wake up and realize who these people are and what they're willing to do. Harry Osborn says, my parents are gone because of them. So is your aunt. And if you think they won't do the same to you, me, or our families, you're crazy. Peter responds, but Harry interrupts, I don't know what you want, Pete. I don't make the rules, but we're playing by them. Peter says, we can't be like them. We're supposed to be the heroes. We're supposed to be better than that. We have to be. Harry thinks about it and says, you need to know something, Peter. If I'm put to the choice and one of them is about to kill you, I will never hesitate. Peter Parker says, well, just so you know, you're still invited to Christmas. Harry Osborn responds, sorry, I've got plans. Still, I'll get the kids something cool. Peter Parker says, yeah? Green Goblin adds, yeah, I'm thinking something spandex. Peter Parker says, Harry, you might just be the worst best friend a guy could have. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 10. It ain't easy. We just make it look that way. Quote, J. Jonah Jameson. J. Jonah Jameson, Ben Parker, and the Green Goblin. Fan favorite duo Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson take center stage in this investigative mystery issue. But in this world of shadows and secrets, every unturned rock leads to danger, and they'll soon have to decide which is the greater challenge, uncovering secrets or keeping them. Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 10. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 9 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Pico suit and warnings of the Maker's Council, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the Spider's bite to fight crime alongside Green Goblin, aka Harry Osborn, the co-CEO of Oscorp. Meanwhile, Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson has launched an underground news organization called The Paper after departing the Daily Bugle over creative differences with its owner, Wilson Fisk. In October, in New York City, Ben Reilly holds 2 Starbucks coffees and tells J. Jonah Jameson that he's got good news and bad news. J. Jonah Jameson wants to hear the bad news first. Ben Reilly replies, "The sun goes down, the sun goes up. People change every day, Jonah." Then Ben continues, "Well, we have a very respectful drive out to Long Island ahead of us." Jonah asks, "Why is that the bad news?" Ben responds, "I see a trip to a golf course in your immediate future." J. Jonah says, you know the devil invented that game, right? What's the good news?" Ben replies, "I know for a fact that a certain lawyer is going to be there. Tee-off time at 10 a.m. Lunch in the clubhouse at noon." J. Jonah Jameson likes this idea. Jonah and Ben arrive at the golf club where they confront James Weasley, Wilson Fisk's personal assistant and lawyer. Weasley isn't concerned with having seen the reports they've been doing on the fighting around town, assuming they aren't much of a threat to him or his employer. But just like Mary Jane predicted, their clickbait reporting has led people to underestimate them. So when Ben reveals that he has some files on the Stark Stain sale, Weasley is caught off guard. Ben Reilly says this paper is authorizing the sale of Stain and Stark to an offshore company that's owned by another offshore company, and so on. Don't get me wrong, if I have to, I'll follow it all the way to the source, no matter how long it takes. But we're hoping you could save us a bit of trouble. Weasley, surprised and unsure how to respond, managed to brush off orders without giving them anything concrete, though clearly rattled. 1 week later, we see Ben and Jonah shifting through papers, analyzing and coordinating as they finally crack the code, trying to track down where one company ends and a new one starts. They are determined to bring the truth to the public, and it all starts with a whiteboard. Eventually, they discover the sale went through Oscorp, the same Oscorp that owns the paper, putting Ben and Jonah on a trail that leads to Gwen Stacy. This universe's Gwen Stacy is very much in control of every situation. Even when Ben and Jonah don't realize it, she's manipulating them, though she does get flustered. Gwen starts by saying she paid for their offices, she paid for the paper, and then asks, "So what can I do for you?" Jonah says, "Well, this thing is delicate and we don't want to upset you." Gwen responds, "I promise you're talking to the wrong lady in the wrong town because I'm not delicate and you will not upset me." Ben says, "Fair enough, good to hear. One of your reporters is working on a story and we'd like to tell you about it, then ask you a few questions." Gwen, unfazed, says, "Okay, I'm intrigued. Let's hear it." Jonah explains last November, Stain Stark was sold off on the cheap. And then, as far as we can tell, it was sold and resold to several faceless companies before eventually being bought by a company under the Oscorp umbrella. This implies you own it, and that's the story we're working on. Gwen, still calm, asks, "What's the name of the reporter working on the story?" Ben pulls out a recorder and says, "Well, that's an interesting question, no doubt. We could talk about that, but first we have a few of our own. Who arranged your deal to buy that company? Why are you working so hard to hide the fact that you own Stain Stark? What happened to all that technology? Why does all this coincide with the people suddenly flying through the air in armored suits? And finally, We're wondering if you're the one secretly financing all that. Jonah adds, care to comment? Gwen, finally showing a reaction, says, sure, I want my money back. After a family dinner, Ben ends up talking with Mary Jane about what happened. Mary Jane, who runs the paper's PR department and is somewhat friends with Gwen, confronts Ben. Gwen is one of her clients, and MJ is well aware of the meeting Ben and Jonah had with Gwen. MJ wishes Ben had held off the story a little longer until they could secure some advertisers. But Ben knows the story needs to be told and spread. That's literally their business. MJ is also worried about their friendship with Gwen, which could be at risk, as well as potential impact on their business. Since Gwen is one of her clients, she gets upset. MJ could lose her, souring their deals. MJ is the primary breadwinner for her family, and if she loses Gwen as a client, both she and Peter could face financial trouble. Peter just wants to stay out of it and collect unemployment. Mary Jane says, we just want to be sure because this could blow up everything you guys have done. Ben replies, and Mary Jane adds, Gwen's also a client and she asked me to ask, so I'm going to ask. How long until you run this story? Ben says, tell her she's got a week. 2 days later, Gwen Stacy sends her husband, the Green Goblin, who is a partner in Oscorp, to visit Jonah and Ben Reilly. Before entering the offices, Harry Osborn thinks of Peter and says, hope you can forgive me if this doesn't go well. When he enters the paper, two smug faces and confidence of these two old reporters are beaming. Ben and Jonah treat Harry Osborn in the situation as a joke, even betting on how many days it would take for someone to show up and who it would be. Harry says, you're treating this like it's a game or something. Well, if that's how it's going to be, we might as well get to it. What do I need to do for you not to write the story about Oscorp and what our company may or may not own? More jokes from Jonah follows. Harry reiterates, gentlemen, I am not here to play games. Ben responds, we're not either, Mr. Osborn. I know we've only spoken a few times and I've had a complicated interaction with your father, but I have hard time believing you bought and carefully hid Stain Stark with bad intentions. Ben continues, because my wife died at the same time and the same way your parents did. And like my friend Jonah here, I'm also a student of human behavior. Jonah adds, as we let your wife know, it's hard not to notice the coordinated timing between Oscorp taking over the company and the emergence of green armor flying through the air. Ben then says, what we think is that Oscorp took the existing Iron Man technology, put a new coat of paint on it, and shined it up nicely for a new show. That continues, and more than that, I think it's you or your wife inside the suit. This makes Harry Osborn very angry, and suddenly the armor on his hands and forearms of the Green Goblin's Pico Suit starts to form. Harry says, I suggest you leave my wife out of this. Once again, the two smug reporters are betting on who the Green Goblin is. Harry can't believe this is really happening. Harry says, enough with your banter, enough with your nonsense. So you figured out I'm the Goblin, which puts me in a dangerous spot. I guess the question is, what am I going to do about it? The conversation becomes more serious. Ben says, Jonah, it seems Mr. Osborn here thinks we're writing a story about who the Green Goblin is. Is that what we're doing? Jonah responds, no, Ben, I don't think we are. Harry says, okay, I'm officially tired of this. Last warning, stop screwing around. What are you two up to? Ben replies, here's our real question. We know that Fisk enabled the sale of the company to Oscorp, and we also know that you and your spider friend have been waging a two-person war on the Fisk empire. Then Jonah adds, so why would Fisk sell you the very thing you're using to destroy him? Harry Osborn says, because he doesn't know that buried deep inside Stain Stark was a hidden record of what Fisk and the people who control Fisk had been up to for decades. I learned they're evil, like old as history of man evil, and they have to be stopped. It's funny, I came thinking I was going to have to stop you by any means necessary or help you get to the bottom of the things. I thought the later would be easier, but now I'm scared to give it to you. I didn't think it would be so easy for you to put all this together the way you have. J. Jonah Jameson says, kid, it ain't easy. We just make it look that way. Harry continues, they're the ones who did it. They killed my parents and they killed your wife. Can I trust you? Harry Osborn hands over the data stick to Ben. Parker asks, what's on it? Harry replies, a rabbit hole. This is everything Oscorp has on record about the man who made the world the way it is. His council that's running things. What really happened when Stark and yes, Fisk. Your story starts there. Then if you have the courage to write it, it will grow. Do you think you're up for this? Because these people are dangerous and ruthless. You have friends, you have family. There's a reason I wear a mask. I wouldn't put my name anywhere near the story. Ben responds, who said we were? One interesting fact, it seems Gwen Stacy is the one manipulating Harry Osborn to do whatever she wants. It appears she's truly the one in control here. Later that evening, J. Jonah Jameson and Ben Parker are typing away. Jonah says, okay, done. Want to give it once over before we publish? Ben replies, yeah, it's good. Jonah adds, I know. You're ready? You're ready to jump off this cliff? I know, but I gotta ask. Ben says, I'm going in head first. Pal, you can follow me down. Besides, that's the point of us using the byline, right? Jonah nods. Yeah, a fictional name to hide behind, a fictional newsman to throw off the scent. Ben concludes, hello world, you're about to read the most explosive story in years, and it's brought to you exclusively by the papers. Brand new, top secret, investigative reporter, prodigy. This prodigy is Ben Riley, and this made-up reporter wrote in the paper, New York Kingpin, Wilson Fisk runs New York, but who runs Wilson Fisk? By Ben Riley. Ben Parker says, all right, let's run it. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 11. Because they're evil, and someone has to stand up to that. Quote, Ben Parker, who is the ultimate black cat. Tensions rise between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin in the wake of recent events, and a new villain steps up to the plate. What is her connection to the Black Cat on Kingpin's Sinister Six? Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 11. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 10 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Picotech suit and warnings of the Maker's Council, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider's bite to fight crime alongside Green Goblin. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin of Manhattan and an agent of the Maker's Council, has deputized the heads of New York, the Sinister Six, to capture the heroic duo. The first to try was Black Cat, who got badly injured in the altercation. That soiled an ethical dispute between Spider-Man and Green Goblin, which is even more complicated now that Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson know the Green Goblin's true identity. Harry Osborn, the CEO of Oscorp. In November, Spider-Man has been stood up on his stakeout by the Green Goblin. Spider-Man says, hey Harry, this is your friendly neighborhood friend again. Just wanted to see if you were still on for today. I've been here for 2 hours. In Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 10, Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson discover the true identity of Harry Osborn. Right now, the Green Goblin is preoccupied with other matters, leaving Spider-Man waiting. This is the first opportunity for Spider-Man to work alone, as the previous encounters were team-ups between the Green Goblin and Spider-Man. Spider-Man doesn't want to do this, but desperate times call for desperate measures. Before making the call, he dials star 67 to block his number. The person Spider-Man is calling is Otto Octavius. Trying to be polite, Spider-Man says, I'm sure you're busy, sorry to bother you, but have you seen Harry? Otto Octavius, unconcerned about Harry Osborn's whereabouts, replies curtly, I'm certainly not his keeper. Spider-Man explains his concerns, mentioning that Harry was supposed to meet him for a stakeout a couple hours ago. Otto dismisses the matter, stating he's busy at the moment. However, Spider-Man's persistence and charm begin to wear him down, knowing full well that Spider-Man won't stop until he gets some kind of information. Just as Otto Octavius is about to respond, Spider-Man notices something suspicious happening at the stakeout. Spider-Man sees a robbery in progress, but these aren't ordinary robbers. They're headed straight for the bank. Spider-Man leaps through the window, taking out one of the criminals from behind. These gang members are part of a group known as the Demons. The wisecracking Spider-Man says, hey guys, sorry to interrupt your little escapade here. I get get it. Everyone's got issues with the bank these days. But are guns really the answer? Trying to be funny and lighthearted, Spider-Man continues as the demons raise their guns. One of them says, "It's the Spider-Man." Spider-Man quips, "It is the Spider-Man. And look, I know transaction fees are out of control, and don't even get me started on trying to cash a check or withdraw your money. But come on, bank robberies never go well. So let's put the weapons down. Let these people go, and we can all walk away nice and easy. Or this could go the other way." The bank manager panic yells, "Why don't you shut up? You're going to get everyone killed." Spider-Man sighs and says, "Okay, fine, you can keep her, but everyone else goes free. What's it going to be?" The demons open fire, but Spider-Man quickly moves out of the way, shooting webs to cover the faces of two attackers. The remaining gang members pull out laser swords and charges Spider-Man. Spider-Man dodges and counters with a swift kick to the face, knocking him back. Spider-Man quips, "I did try to warn you." Spider-Man has grown significantly as a hero, handling the demon gang members with ease, far better than when he first gained his powers. As the fight continues, Spider-Man expertly uses his webbing, flinging one gang member into the others like bowling pins, knocking them over. Just then, one of the demons grabs the bank manager, who exclaims, "See, you idiot, I told you this would happen. You're nothing but an idiot." The gang member yells at Spider-Man, "That's enough. Quit or we leave with the money, or she gets one in the head." Spider-Man replies, "Good try, but that's totally against my save everyone no matter what ethos. So while it's tempting, no dice." With that, Spider-Man executes a perfect backflip, webbing up the gang member and sealing the mouth of the bank manager mid-complaint. Then suddenly, Martin Lee, also known as Mr. Negative, makes his entrance. Mr. Negative says, "It appears you made short work of my men. I suppose that counts for something." Spider-Man quips, "Whoa, rocking that man bun. Don't get me wrong, I understand most of the grief you guys get is just pretty jealousy from male pattern baldness brigade, but still, bold choice. People are gonna love you in jail." Mr. Negative replies, "You think you're the man to put me there?" Spider-Man counters, "You think I'm not?" Mr. Negative responds, "Oh, I'm perfectly aware of your impressive abilities." Spider-Man, "It's hard to forget what you and your companion did to my colleague, the Black Cat, a few weeks ago. Hard to forget, impossible to forgive." In the previous issue, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 9, Walter Harley, better known as the Black Cat, was the first of the Sinister Six to confront Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. Catching them by surprise, he almost managed to defeat them, but the Goblin threw him off the building they were fighting on, leaving him unconscious and definitely severely injured. Spider-Man called an ambulance and Hardy survived. Martin Lee, the CEO of Feast Foundation, hides his true identity as the leader of the Demons, a gang that holds New York City in its grip. He recently joined the Sinister Six, led by the Kingpin. Spider-Man says, "About the Black Cat, I didn't mean for that to happen." Mr. Negative responds, "And where's your green friend today?" Spider-Man replies, "Afraid I'm flying solo on this one." Mr. Negative smirks and says, "It's a tough life being alone. Me, I'm never am. I don't allow it." Just then, people begin reaching for Spider-Man, and his spider senses start pounding intensively. As in other universes, Mr. Negative can control people's minds. Suddenly, everyone in the bank, from customers to managers to tellers, starts attacking Spider-Man. Spider-Man, confused and overwhelmed, says, "Stop it. I'm on your side." Mr. Negative responds, No, you don't get it. These people work for me now, doing the good work of stopping men like you." The crowd grabs Spider-Man, clawing and scratching at him, tearing at his suit as he struggles to break free. Later, a beaten and bruised Spider-Man climbs through the window exhausted and collapses onto the floor. Mary Jane is there to greet him, saying, "Hey, yourself, Tiger. Rough day at work?" Peter, worried, asks. "The kids didn't see me like this, did they?" Mary Jane reassures him, "You're in luck. They both had something after school, but I'll admit I'm freaking out a little right now. You should be worrying about me instead." Peter sighs. "I know this looks bad, but believe it or not, it was a moral decision. I couldn't avoid it, but innocent people might have gotten hurt, so I took the beating. And for what it's worth, I learned a valuable lesson today." Mary Jane raises an eyebrow. "Oh, what's that?" Peter smiles faintly and says, "Not all women are Mary Jane Watson Parker. Not even close. And I'm lucky to have you." Their conversation shifts briefly to Mary Jane's estranged sister, but Mary Jane brings up something more serious. "Look, I think I've been pretty cool about you becoming, well, the new you. I think I've handled the constant threat of violence and the danger pretty well. But what should I do if I say I'm starting to freak out a little?" Peter nods, understanding her concern. She continues, "Sure, you got thousands of photos and hours of videos from working at the paper, but I don't think we've ever talked about this. Had you ever been in a fight before all this?" Peter chuckles. Sure, Flash Thompson, 8th grade. Mary Jane tilts her head. How did it go? Peter grins sheepishly. Oh, he beat the bleeping out of me. It was terrifying. Mary Jane presses. So how are you dealing with it now? Peter pauses, then admits, I hate it. I mean, it feels good to stop someone when I'm the only one who can, but I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want anyone to get hurt. Mary Jane smiles softly, which is why you're perfect for this, I suppose. But do me a favor, promise to tell me when I really should be scared. Peter reaches for her hand. MJ, if I ever come home and tell you it's time to run, be ready to run. But until then, please don't worry. I'm supposed to be doing this. Mary Jane smiles, leaning closer. Well, in that case, Tiger, how about we make the most of you being home? Peter suddenly remembers something. Oh no, I forgot I'm supposed to be somewhere. Mary Jane blinks, realizing it too. Wait, when are you supposed to meet Ben? Peter rushes to grab his gear. Now, unless swinging home to change counts as being on time. Mary Jane shakes her head with a laugh. Rain check. Peter grins as he heads out the window. Definitely. The Kingpin cannot understand how Mr. Negative has Spider-Man and let him go. Mr. Negative replies, no, Kingpin. It was best to call it a stalemate. It took him less than a minute to defeat almost all of my men, so I took the liberty the rabbi gave me and withdrew from the conflict. Mole Man asks, what about his mind and your formal feats of persuasion? Mr. Negative answers, do you fear that battle as well? Mr. Negative then adds, I could judge well at a glance, Mole Man. As one measure of determination, the spider would do well in comparison to everyone in this room. Mr. Negative's implying that he can control people with weak minds, but Spider-Man's mind is not weak. Kraven says, so you see this man, and you must kill him. Do it in whatever manner you wish, but he must die, for we have been reduced to 5 from 6. Kraven is referring to the black cat Walter Hardy, who was thrown off the roof by the Green Goblin. But then someone says no. The person who said no was Walter Hardy, the black cat, who stated, I have not surrendered my seat, Kraven, as he does not want to lose his money. Mysterio replies, maybe not yet. The black cat counters, not ever, Mysterio. The territory will remain in the Hardys' hands. Yes, I have new limitations, but when needed, my daughter Felicia will stand in my place. What's mine is mine. Felicia Hardy, his daughter, the new black cat, will step into the Sinister Six. The Kingpin slams his hand down and says, no, what's yours belongs to me, each of you, and all of it. You rule at my pleasure, and those are currently too many rats biting at my feet. Whatever distraction plans or agendas you might currently have, stop them all now. My kingdom is in rebellion, and I will not be pleased until there are bodies laid before me. At Memorial Park, where the Maker had blown up the buildings, Peter Parker is going to meet his Uncle Ben Parker. While walking with flowers to honor his Aunt May, he's texting to Harry Osborn, who says, I can't talk about it over the phone. I'll tell you in person. Where are you now? Peter replies, at Memorial Park. Harry Osborn says, okay, I'm headed your way. I'll ping you when I'm there. Peter meets up with Ben Parker. Ben Parker says, hey, Peter, thanks for coming. Peter replies, of course. You sure you don't want to come tomorrow? That's the official day. Everyone's going to be there. The mayor is supposed to speak. Ben Parker says, I'm not one for show, kiddo. Peter replies, yeah, I know. I can't believe it's been a year already. Ben says, I can't. I get up every morning, have my coffee, and ask myself if today's the day I start going through her things to see what's what. But I can't bring myself to do it. I'm still waiting for her to walk through the door. Peter says, I miss her too. Ben says, she was some kind of woman. Peter replies, yeah, hey, you know what? Aunt May would absolutely love what you're doing. Ben says, you think so? He adds, well, she'd love what you're doing too. Peter then says, yeah, she did always like my photos. Ben says, she did, but that's not what I'm talking about, Peter. Peter looks at him with a shocked face. Then suddenly it hits Peter. He knows what Ben will tell him. Ben says, it took me about a week after we figured out who Harry was. Peter says, Ben, I've been wanting to tell you. Ben interrupts, no, don't say it, and don't ever say it out loud to anyone again. Ben continues, how many people know? Peter says, 6. You make 7, unless Jonah knows. Ben says, no, not yet, but he's just as good as I am. He'll get there eventually. Ben says, it's hard to keep this secret, especially when it's such an important one, but keeping it could save your life, your lives. You have to try harder, Peter. Make some changes. Peter says, MJ asked me if she should be scared earlier. Ben asks, what did you tell her? Peter replies, that I would tell her I know when she should be. Ben says, and you think you know when that is? Before the wave crashes over your head? Peter replies, yes, I think so. I believe so. Peter says, I don't know that I'm strong enough now to do something about it if I had to. Ben says, because they're evil and someone has to stand up to that. Just then, Harry Osborn texts Peter Parker saying, hey, I'm here. Black SUV parked in the street behind you. Peter texts back, be right there. Peter Parker's afraid of what might happen if anyone knows his secret identity, what it would do to MJ, to the kids, and who would come after them. He starts to understand what these people can do. Peter says, Harry's here. I gotta go. Ben says, sure, go do some good, kiddo. Ben calls out, hey, Peter. Peter turns around and says, yeah? Ben says, I'm old. Well, old enough. I've lived a good life, and I've lived long enough to see the woman I love be buried and gone. I do miss her, but it was a good life, and I'm fine with whatever happens next. Can you say that? This is a lesson learned and taught to Peter Parker to live his life, to have a good life, and to keep his family safe. Peter says, no. Ben says, maybe keep that in mind. As Peter walks toward the black SUV, he reflects on Ben's words. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 12. A very merry Spider Christmas. Seasoned greetings from the Parker family. But why is Peter acting so strangely during the most wonderful time of the year? And what's got Gwen so concerned? Don't miss the thrilling conclusion of the second arc and the first year of Ultimate Spider-Man. Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 12. 20 years ago, the Maker prevented a radioactive spider from biting a young Peter Parker. He likewise prevented the creation of any other superheroes and formed a secret council to rule the world from the shadows. 11 months ago, Tony Stark sent Peter that same radioactive spider along with a Picotech suit and warnings of the Maker's Councils, a shadow organization that rules the world. Since then, Peter has used the incredible powers granted by the spider's bite to fight crime alongside the Green Goblin. Danger looms around every corner for the heroic duo. Wilson Fisk, the kingpin of Manhattan and the agent of the Maker's Council, has deputized the heads of New York, the Sinister Six, to capture them. And Peter's uncle, Ben Parker, learned Green Goblin's true identity as Harry Osborn, co-CEO of Oscorp, and followed the thread to discover that Peter is Spider-Man. But today, it's Christmas. It's December in New York City, and Christmas time is here for the Parker family. Light snow falls outside as a ding-dong sounds at the door. Richard Parker answers, and standing there is his great uncle, Ben Parker, along with J. Jonah Jameson, who inquires if they are late. Richard Parker says, now you're right on time. The party's just getting started. We are understanding the dynamics of the Parker family as everyone is dressed for the occasion except for J. Jonah Jameson. For the Parker family, dressing for the occasion means Christmas sweaters are a requirement. However, J. Jonah Jameson says, enough, I'm wearing this hat. This is as friendly as I get. Ben Parker notices a different crowd this year at the Christmas party. The first notable absence is Mr. and Mrs. Eddie Brock, who couldn't make it. Then we go through the room. First, there's Aunt Anna, and Ben Parker recognizes her. Next, there's Gail Watson, Mary Jane Watson's sister. Every year, Gail Watson is invited to the Parker Christmas party, but she never attends. The two sisters have a complex adult relationship. Additionally, Mary Jane's mother, Madeline Watson, is present. She is considered overbearing and snooty. Madeline Watson is a world traveler, a three-time widow, and an occasional mother. Madeline Watson criticized Mary Jane Watson for making too much food, while Mary Jane tried to keep everything calm with all the family members. Tension was clearly building in the room. Mary Jane Watson gave the phone to May Parker to play with, but was told that if someone called, she should let her know. This was followed by another snooty comment about whether Mary Jane Watson couldn't cook or simply wouldn't cook. Mary Jane Watson then asked, speaking of things that are a big deal, how long are you planning on staying in town? Madeline Watson is affluent, rich, and constantly puts down her daughter, both through her attitude and her expression. It doesn't seem like she's a good mother. More guilt trips from Madeline Watson to her daughter saying, trying to get rid of me already, dear? Madeline did not tell anyone she was coming, and Mary Jane Watson responds that she is happy to have her, but just wants to know how long she'll stay. Then Madeline Watson turns to question about Ben Parker wondering if she could pursue him romantically. Madeline says, time passes, people need to move on, have new experiences. Mary Jane Watson responds, Mom, don't, seriously. Peter is helping Mary Jane put out the hors d'oeuvres as Madeline Watson gives Ben Parker a look. Ben goes to see if Mary Jane needs anything, but his gesture is more fatherly, showing support and ensuring she knows he has her back. He says, keep an eye out because there are Watsons everywhere. In every family event, there are always family members, and when everyone is in the room together, there could be trouble. It seems the Watsons have a lot of issues to deal with. May Parker is playing video games when Gail Watson comments, losing, that's going around, and asks if May remembers her. May Parker responds that she's seen pictures but doesn't know who Mary Jane's sister is, as the last time Gail Watson saw May was when she was 2 years old. Meanwhile, Gwen is calling Mary Jane. Mary Jane lets Gwen Stacy's call go to voicemail. She then says to her sister, happy you came. Gail Watson responds with a simple thanks. Mary Jane, however, questions why she showed up. Why, after all this time, there must be a reason. From the previous issue, we know that the two sisters have been estranged for years due to something Gail did, and Mary Jane is hoping for an apology. Gail plays it off pretending she doesn't know what Mary Jane is talking about. Mary Jane, unable to hold back, makes a scene at the Christmas party, exclaiming, you don't know. Everyone turns to stare as Gail hesitates. Finally, Mary Jane spells it out. You don't think telling me I was wasting my life because I married the wrong guy and then saying that having kids was making all those mistakes permanent is something you need to apologize for. The sisters stare at each other in tense silence. Gail finally responds, I just thought you could have done better. It's clear that Gail never approved of Mary Jane's marriage to Peter Parker and believed that having kids would only complicate things if the marriage ended in divorce. As the scene shifts to the older members of the room, Ben Parker asks Anna Watson, do you think they're ever going to work things out? Anna responds, you know how it is, Ben. You do your best and then you let them go, hoping it's for the best. And if it's not, you endure the pain of not being able to save them from it. Madeline also speaks to her sister Anna, saying she's happy to see her and hinting at a surprise. You're going to love your Christmas present. She reveals her gift, a plan to move in with Anna, complete with lunches and double cocktails in the evenings. Anna then turns the conversation to Ben and asks, how are you doing, Ben? Putting on a brave face, says, oh, I'm great, can't you tell? Meanwhile, Madeline Watson makes a bold proposition to Ben Parker, suggesting that it's time to move on, adding, eventually, you've got to get up and get back on the horse to dating. Ben Parker quickly tries to shift the conversation, saying, I just hope MJ and Gail work things out. Anna Watson interjects, revealing that Gail is getting a divorce. Gail, however, avoids discussing what happened or the reasons behind it. Madeline, once again displaying her lack of empathy, comments, divorce is never fun. I've experienced both divorce and being a widow. She then redirects her attention to Ben Parker, saying, lie down for a while, have a good cry, but like I said, sooner or later, you gotta get back on the horse. Ben Parker looks visibly shocked by her bold and tactless remarks. And then we have a moment with Peter Parker and Mary Jane Watson as Peter, being a supportive husband, simply listens. Mary Jane vents, saying, unbelievable, first my mother, the nerve of her just showing up with no warning, no heads up, and then acting like she's the one who's put out. Let me tell you, you don't ever want to think about where that could lead. And Gail, we haven't really talked in years, and she's spouting the same garbage about you. Honestly, I don't know if I want to get past it. Forgive and forget. Not likely. But if that's the case, why did I invite her? Why do I always invite her? Because I don't want to be this way, and I have to hope for something better, right? Peter simply nods, offering her silent support, and Mary Jane adds, yeah, of course, thanks. You're the best. Peter remains a steady sounding board for his wife, letting her express her frustrations without judgment. In a previous issue, J. Jonah Jameson gave his book to Richard Parker, and Richard liked it, but had some questions, specifically about chapter 14, Finding Love in the Big City. Richard, having no experience in love, sought clarity. Jameson, ever the gentleman and mentor, replied, sure, I get it. Hard to get any experience when it's a lack of experience keeping you from having any. Normally, a smart and good-looking kid like yourself, I'd tell you not to worry about it. Just give it time. But should an opportunity arise, might I suggest chapter 17. He adds with a knowing grim, the old fake it till you make it. Sometimes you just got to take a gamble and make sure you're playing the best hand on the table. As J. Jonah Jameson steps in the grandfatherly role for Richard Parker, he imparts a wisdom that sometimes life is about taking risks and trusting yourself to play your cards right. Mary Jane takes her sister Gail by the hand and says, I want to be clear about something. I love you, but this nonsense between us has to stop. I wanted to stop, but you have to meet me halfway. Deal? Gail responds, I can't do that. Mary Jane continues, so spill it. Why are you here? Why now? Gail hesitates before revealing, I found out Douglas has been having an affair. I'm getting divorced. Mary Jane is visibly shocked. Gail continues, I've added it all up, thought about seeing if I could save things, find some way to work it out. Then I found out it's been going on for a couple of years, several years, and people knew. Mary Jane is left speechless, trying to process the revelation. Mary Jane offers her sister comfort, but Gail says, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm so angry and embarrassed. May Parker hands the phone to Mary Jane again, saying Gwen Stacy has been calling repeatedly. However, Mary Jane wants to finish the conversation and console her sister. Mary Jane says, so I get it now. You came here because you needed support, a shoulder to cry on, someone to talk to. Gail responds, I came here because, with as bad as things were for me, I just wanted to feel better. So I figured I'd come check out your whole situation. Gail says, you know, compare what I'm going through to your perfectly normal, perfectly average, bore me to death existence. Haven't you been paying attention? But turns out the joke's on me. I knew your job was going well, but your kids are amazing. And sure, as much as I didn't care for you settling for Peter, I have to say there's something different about him. I just thought boring was the worst thing someone could be, and that you deserved a more exciting life. What I wouldn't give for a boring right now. As Gail starts crying, Mary Jane responds, if you think this is any way an apology for year after year of unacceptable behavior, it's not. Gail puts her head down and says, is that really all you want from me, an apology? Fine. Sorry. Mary Jane answers back, well, I'm also kind of wondering if you ever signed your prenup. Gail says, I did not. Mary Jane says, good for you. Gail responds, I really am sorry. I know I've been awful. As she starts crying again, showing real remorse. Mary Jane says, I forgive you, but don't do it again, as both sisters hug each other and make up after many years of being estranged. Then we go to Ben Parker and J. Jonah Jameson having a conversation over a beer. J. Jonah Jameson says he thinks Madeline Watson is a fine-looking woman and asks Ben if she might like him. Ben Parker responds, absolutely. J. Jonah Jameson says, well, I just might do that. I know it started off rough, pal, but this just might be the perfect end to a very good year. Ben Parker says, I'd say it was a great year as we see the whole Parker family together. May and Richard Parker are taking a photograph of the family. Mary Jane Watson and her sister Gail Watson are together sharing a drink and reminiscing like it was old time. Madeline Watson, as snooty as ever, looks over their shoulder while Anna Watson, the aunt, is simply happy and enjoying the company. Meanwhile, Peter Parker, not saying a word, just watches everything unfold. Happiness is being surrounded by the people you love. May Parker says, Mom, she's calling again. Mary Jane says, excuse me for a second, I need to answer this. And she starts talking to Gwen. Gwen Stacy says, oh God, finally, why haven't you been picking up? I'm losing my mind here. Is Peter there? Does he know where Harry is? MJ pulls Peter to the side and asks, Peter, something's up. Okay, Gwen, you're on speaker. What's going on? Gwen Stacy says, I'm at our house for the holidays. I had a meeting out of town, so I came straight here. But Harry was supposed to drive up. He didn't show up. That was 6 days ago, and I can't reach him. Does Peter have any idea where he is? Still no words from Peter Parker as MJ says, Peter, did you hear what Gwen was saying? Do you know where Harry is? Peter, not a word. MJ grabs the back of Peter, and it's the AI version of Peter Parker, the Pico Suit. Mary Jane says, what is going on? And then it hits her. Oh God, you're not Peter. Where is Peter? What have you done? For the last 6 days, the AI has been pretending to be Peter Parker. It has been watching him, learning his mind for months now, and seamlessly filling his place. Mary Jane Watson says, where is he? Answer me. Why won't you answer me? Hey, where is my husband? Tell me, say something. The AI version of Peter Parker with black Picotech-like eyes respond, Merry Christmas. The AI impersonates Peter. Remember, this suit is made of the Venom Symbiote. It was a gift given to him by Tony Stark. I'm a perfect replica of your psyche, house in total, independent, completely adaptable Pico shell. Of course, I can talk. Quote, Peter Parker AI, Ultimate Spider-Man, Volume 3, Issue 8. Fear is knowing it can all be taken away. We go to the epilogue and see Peter Parker and Harry Osborn kidnapped, chained up, and hanging with an IV dripping into their blood, possibly to keep them sedated or weak by Kraven the Hunter. Sergei Kravenov, known as Kraven the Hunter, is a billionaire oligarch exiled from the Eurasian Republic with his family during the Rasputin Purge. Sergei is a hunter born of a long line of hunters, and as such, he has hunted and killed everything that can be, always hunting in pairs, killing one and saving the other. As time went on, he eventually arrived at Staten Island in North American Union, where he met Wilson Fisk and joined his Sinister Six, taking Staten Island as his territory. Kraven owns a zoo that serves as his lair and where he displays his hunting trophies to the public. Kraven's motto is hunt pairs, kill one, save the other. We see Peter Parker and Harry Osborn hanging. Kraven's machete is covered in blood, and Harry Osborn's eyes are closed, while Peter remains chained up. Merry Christmas. Next, Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 3, Issue 13,